But I would suspect with a 1/4 inch of rain, that you would have only had a small percentage of that rye actually germinating. You need, like I would want to see a 1/4 inch, couple days later, maybe a 1/2 inch thrown in over a couple weeks.
Sure is. Yeah, me too. That'd be great. Man. Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah,
I'd love to see that as well. The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked out as always.
Blacked out. Yeah. Big surprise for everyone.
80 pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. And we just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt, like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt.
And we're back.
Hey,
HUNTR Podcast, episode 273, as Nick keeps us in line from South Carolina. I trust that it's Nick texting us. We don't talk to him on the phone as much as we used to, but I always feel like maybe there's like a body double that's just texting us as Nick in our group.
Is that what you think?
Yeah, I just have to wonder who is this? Is this Nick?
Yeah, it's got to be Nick.
Yeah.
Nick, if you're out there.
Yeah, bark once.
Twice, if you're in Milwaukee.
Just like some kidnapper, what would you say to this text?
What is the feeling? What's the vibe for today?
I'm excited about. I'm not really excited about deer season, which is kind of weird for me.
Yeah,
I'm excited about going elk hunting this Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm still I don't like the heat and dry that we're in for the foreseeable future.
I think it's some lingering angst. I think I nailed it last week.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Still no rain. Still no sign of rain.
No, she's dry. Yeah, and so once we finally make a turn into high 60s and lows in the 40s, it will feel even dry. It will feel like hunting season. But dude, it's been. I think today's supposed to be 89 degrees or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just. Mm-hmm. Wow.
There's a level of excitement that's rising for sure. I mean, it's honestly been prolonged. It's almost, there's a tendency you can get exhausted by just
the just constant
excitement
anticipation
for so long. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that.
It never really stops either because we don't stop doing the podcast and the projects along with it and stuff. It's it never really ends.
We'll see what our guests think about today. I kind of feel there's a weird transition between the excitement around off-season management and projects and success and feeling, and then when hunting actually happens. And I feel that, in a normal year when it's hey, the plots look great, all the work is good, I feel like you roll right into hunting season and you're ready to rip.
Yeah.
This year, it's all the work we did in the off season, we're seeing it not succeed.
This season feels more like a birthday party game where except in this version, they kick you in the balls 3 times and then spin you around and then punch you in the face and then go run the thing.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just feels like we're excited about hunting season, obviously, but it's a lot of the work that we've done in the off season. It's. I can't say that it's going to pay off. With certainty, at least.
Yeah. Well, from a food standpoint, we're just struggling.
That's what I mean.
We're struggling because the conditions are just, and there's nothing you can do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like we've made every effort, and we'll continue to play the hand that we're dealt here. But it's unfortunate.
Well, even with the native habitat, it's I look at my Ohio place, which I'm going into year 2 of post heavy select cut timber, which my browse and my forbs, everything's are great. They're mowing it because there's no water content in anything else. My clover plots are gone. My bean plots are gone. There's nothing. And so, there's, you talked about browsing on your property. There's a factor here where, if this thing continues for the next 2 or 3 weeks, which it surely looks like it's going to do, if not more, like these deer are going to have a really rough winter. And the habitat itself, I think, is going to have years of recovery from a drought like this because of the damage that deer, especially if you've got a high deer population, are putting on it. It's not going to, even with a great spring, it's not going to just bounce back. This is really, really heavy deer pressure on native habitat. And then these deer are going to get into December and January, and the woody browse and stuff that they have been used to having, I don't think they're going to have it. It's going to be mowed down.
Yeah. Well, that certainly plays into the vibe probably, but not too pessimistically. You know what I mean? It's like there's still, I jumped a good buck the other day. I mean, he's not a high scorer, but it was cool to see a 5-year-old buck. I jumped him out from under where we're hanging a stand and stuff. So that's exciting. And
there is a lot of acorns this year. So, you know, even though it's
a big deal,
that's only a small portion of the year for the deer's diet. Now's the time they need them more than ever. And that will build heavy fat content onto these deer to go into the winter. So that will buy them some time and some offset to maybe not having high quality browse that they would. But if October turns out to be wet, and whether it's hurricanes or just fronts that come through, like it'll help.
It can recover.
It'll help.
Yeah. Well, cool. Before we get too far into it, I'll thank you guys for being here, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. Those are the 3 main platforms we drop these episodes on. We do that every Tuesday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you give us like a like, follow, or subscribe, one of those will notify you as to when those episodes drop, so you don't have to keep track. If you've written us on Instagram, DM, or the website, those are the 2 we check the most frequently. And as always, we work diligently to try to get back through those. If you've been left unanswered, apologies. Keep trying.
We're pretty good on Instagram, but we're getting there.
We're trying. We have some merch on the website. There are a couple new things on there. You guys can check that out. That antler progression shirt was one of my favorites. I think it's pretty cool.
Got a new flag hoodie on there. And
flag hoodie's cool too. You like that? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it looks good.
And lastly, you can use code HUNTR on any of our partners' websites for a discount in some way, shape, or form. There's some cool stuff out there, so check that out. And other than that, here we go.
Recording this on the 18th of September. I don't know. It's releasing next week sometime.
Boy, it's building for me. And I mean, so we kind of just covered, but that angst, but also the excitement. It's just kind of like, oh boy, like it's freaking like it's the gates getting ready to open here. You know,
we're 10 days from opening in Ohio.
I know, and now everybody see, and this is where, because it's like. It like I said, it's never shut. Like I've never lost track of some of these deer. I've never it's a year round thing, and so people start to turn it back on. Like in September, you know, they're like, "Oh yeah, deer season," and I start getting the texts. They're like, "What are you seeing? How's this going?" You know, and then the plans are starting to be wanting to be made, and I'm just kind of like, "Hey, we'll see. We'll just see how it goes." You know what I mean? It's like we can speculate all we want. I know it. You know, I know what I think will happen, but that doesn't mean I don't know where I'm sitting day one. Like far from it.
Yeah, which is surprising because, like you said, you do have a good beat on those and. But we're also at that tipping point with food changes and bachelor groups breaking up and everything else that's happening on top of it. There's fall shifts happening at this point. So it's like you're teetering on the last parts of what I would call summer or late summer patterns and the beginning parts of fall patterns. And so sometimes that opening week is very summer pattern like and you can take advantage of those. Other times it's like a complete mystery and you're like, I don't know what's going on.
I can't say in Ohio, at least, that we've had other than like some green beans, that's the last lingering, aspect of a summer pattern, if there was one. But almost always, those acorns are dropping well before season, like September 1st, those are starting. So there's some pretty hard transitions that have been happening, which I can say confident. I've gotten fairly accustomed to just hunting that transition. It's like just expect them not to necessarily be doing what they were doing. I'm hunting generally like the first 2 weeks of season and really through October, it's really annual patterns. It's more so what did they do last year? How do they use this area? Where's a natural transition back to and from bed? And we figured a few of those out. Scrapes always are a part of that. If we have any rain, you and I were saying like, hey, that hasn't happened at all.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like our community scrapes, they're dead. Like they were more active in July than they are right now.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that like that moisture is a big part of like they sense that they know there's nothing on those scrapes to hold scent, so they're not touching them.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, it's really really strange. So anyways, we've got guests today. So we've got Jen and Jeff Sturgis live from old Canada, and so they're up there doing some bear hunting and fishing, but we were like, well, we always traditionally try to get these guys in here, at or right before the season, just to talk about kind of where we're at in the transition, what's going on in the season, where they've already killed bucks.
Yeah.
They've already tagged bucks. Yeah, so that's a huge part of it too.
Well, maybe in our food plot duress, we can flesh out what are the options from this point, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we were just talking about even like the water hole side. Like this is where having those tanks that you can refill are critical in that standpoint when you're not banking on rain and stuff happening. So, anyways, let's bring in Jen and Jeff.
Hey guys. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, I had to double check. I guess, is Ontario Eastern time or are you Central time in Ontario?
Yeah, that's funny you ask. We wake up, we never know what our phone's going to say, if it's going to be on. So I can admit dozens of times throughout the year I've Googled what time is it?
Right now.
What is Central time? What time is it now in Eastern? And so I wear a watch all the time up here because this is actually tells the time for Central back home, but we're right on the dividing line.
Right on it.
I mean, literally. So we go by, the lodge owner goes by Eastern, so.
I honestly don't know. There's a lot of times I'm like, all right, so what is our schedule look like today on Eastern time? And then maybe the next day we'll be like, all right, well, let's do everything in Central time today.
Yeah. We're mixed up.
No, I get it. That makes perfect sense on that side. Anytime I get close to the line, the other thing you have to think about too is like the closer to that line you get, especially if you're on Eastern time, the sun sets extremely early, right? Whereas if you're on the Central time, then it's it's later, much later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's we were sitting last night for bear. Jen has a bear tag, so we sat together. We brought Grandma up, Jen's mom, to watch the kids, so we get our time out in the stand. It's pretty fun, and. We don't get to sit with each other that much, so to actually sit in the stand with her, I was in a tree saddle behind her, and it was fun.
It was a lot of fun. We don't get to do it, like you said, we don't get to do that a lot throughout the years or year. We probably do it, maybe 4 times a year we sit with each other, maybe. So the times that we can, because we enjoy hunting so much, but we enjoy doing that together, it's pretty special.
So the lodge owner told us to sit till a certain time. He told us to sit till about 7.
Mm-hmm.
And now 7 Central, it's starting to get dark. 7 Eastern, it's still light. He's on Eastern. So we just told him, we were just going to tell him if we sat too late that we assumed he meant Central.
Yeah.
So we get a little flexibility there with the time.
Yeah.
And it was, and I could see his point. He didn't want to, it's warm out. He didn't want to track in the dark. If it was cooler, we could leave a bear till the morning, that kind of thing. But it's pretty hot out. So we weren't coming out of there when it was pitch black or anything, but it was maybe later than he wanted us to. I really don't know. So,
and I would assume you guys, like we are at least here in Pennsylvania, pretty warm for this time of season up there.
It is up here too. And we been coming up here in September for about 10 years, right around there. And you can get, we can get 80 degrees, you can get high of 47.
Wow.
And so it's really, where when we get into early October, that's our last trip of the year up here. Then there's been times where the power was out for 4 or 5 days in a row because we had a big snowstorm. And, so we're really, really on that fine line from it turning. And it seems like when it turns, it really starts. It's like push-pull right now, and then all of a sudden it just really slams in. We even had mosquitoes up here, which this time of year the mosquitoes really aren't that bad.
It's very odd.
Yeah, it's more odd right now, a little bit warmer.
Yeah. We went through, I would say it was right around Labor Day even. Like we went through a week or two of like unseasonably cool weather, right? Like 60s, low 70s, and some 40s even for the lows. And then now for like the next 2 weeks, it's like mid 80s, like every day. And it's just weird.
Well, when we were out in Kentucky, we had, I think the one day was a high of 72. Yeah, 72, 71. The next day was 75. And here we were thinking back to last year. At that time, it was 89, 88. You literally sweat's coming down your face when you're hunting.
Yeah.
So this was like 70 some is awesome.
Yeah, it's perfect.
High 40s at night.
Yeah, it's just this weather, conditions at least have been crazy. Like I said, we've been are they dry there too? Or are they getting more weather like you guys would get in Minnesota?
I would say they've had consistent rain up here, but the lake is always down this time of year. And so a lot of the waterways, swamps are down. So just going by that, we were out in the lake yesterday, and we have some narrow passageways to go through. You basically, one of them you have to go through fast, so you're trimmed all the way up and you're on plane. And so you go through there, and it's pretty narrow. And so when you meet another boat head on, it's stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You hope they basically stay in their lane and you stay in yours, and you kind of pass each other going by 30 to 35 mile an hour. And I mean, literally, you're probably 20 feet apart.
Yeah, you're not trying to play a game of chicken there.
You got to be above the rock. Yeah, and I would say right now the water is about 2 feet lower than what it is in the spring. So you got to be careful there's a lot of boulders. And
I assume the water temperatures are up as well, right?
I would say so, but yeah, they are. Yeah, definitely they are. But it seems like you find the fish in the same areas. It's just a matter of, it's a 65,000 acre lake, but if you're closer towards the resort areas, it's not like you see a lot of boat traffic, but the areas can get fished out. So we're still fishing those same patterns. We just go to different places. We probably have 30 places in the back of my head, and Jen's head now too, that we can go. And so
we've tried to explore a lot and find some new spots too.
Yeah, we caught fish at a new spot yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of what it's all about, right? Like even you can relate that to going like hunting public land too. Just doing different things.
Yeah, you like exploring and looking at new areas. So we catch fish in an area, we catch our limit, or get close to it. Like, let's go. This is kind of boring. Let's go to another spot. And so we're not up here we don't bring a lot of fish home. We eat a lot of fish when we're here. We have a very short window with the kids. It's, like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, I bet.
Are you guys fishing mainly for walleye up there?
Yeah.
Catch a lot of like pike and muskie too, or
smallie and pike. What muskie? Not around here. Not around here. Yeah, big pike. We usually catch those. Jen caught one that was inch-wise, is over 42, 43 inches. She caught that in 2021. It was a huge one. But like a leg flopping around on the boat.
Yeah, it was massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
The walleye, it's fun because you're really hunting for them. So you follow those patterns, whether it's early season bucks, rut bucks, late season, and there's always a pattern for walleye. And once you figure out that pattern on just about any lake, then you can, on that lake, try to duplicate that. So you're looking at the navigation charts and trying to figure it out. And it's kind of like hunting a big buck. You're just hunting schools of fish.
Are you guys jigging for them or trolling?
We
troll a little bit.
Yeah.
But mostly we're jigging.
Yeah, mostly jigging or casting. So we'll cast with some of the bottom bouncers and search baits, but typically jigging, and then it's a matter of what are you jigging with and how deep. But we'll see the depth vary too.
Yeah. My dad's always trying to get me to go out to like Lake Erie. He's got a boat that he goes up all the time. It's like his favorite thing to do. And it's like, I've been once or twice, and it's like the most boring fishing that I've ever been about. It's like, because he's got those super heavy, weights on him, the dipsy whatevers, and I'm like, they just come up like on their side, and I'm like, we don't even, they don't even fight. So, but jigging for him sounds a lot more fun.
We're not big fans of that. We like actually, catching them with and we're using light lines a lot. Nice. Medium heavy rods, and then 6 pound.
The fight is the fun part about it.
It's awesome. Yeah, and you're fighting the fish. Can I tell the story?
One pulled you in.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So she, I don't know why, but she threatened to throw me overboard yesterday.
It's probably justified.
So anyways, she threatened to throw me overboard, all in good fun. I don't think she'd throw it most of the time. I don't think.
No, I need you to drive the boat.
And so anyways, I said, well, when I'm down there, I can at least look for.
So my rod and reel fell overboard yesterday in like 20 some feet of water, probably. And it was one of those moments where like as a mom, you're doing so many things at one time with like 2 kids, and then I got my mom in the boat. So Jeff's up front, with his, Tooties, your sonar, his Mega Live and whatever. So he's up there playing the Jeff Sturgis video game, and I'm back there getting a bottle ready, getting
herding
snacks,
cats,
helping my mom make sure she's at the, like on the bottom, jigging on the bottom.
I'm just trying to feed
I get it.
I'm just,
and so here my like rod and reel is, my minnow's on like the surface of the water, and I'm sitting in like the captain's chair doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden I hear this zzz, and I look over, and my Mags rod that Jeff was kind enough to like custom make for me with like purple and that's my favorite color.
It was a gift.
It said Sturgis on it. Whatever. I just like see that thing going like flying in the water, and I got my heavy boots on and all these heavy clothes on. And I just about jumped in the water after it, and I just like watched it like just sink, just sink. And
there were a few tears, and it was a gift. So it was more so it was probably like 2 hours later we hugged, and I told her I felt bad, and I can't say that was my initial reaction. It was but at some point we hugged. There's, she shed some tears. I felt bad. And so it was about 2 hours later when the comment of throwing me overboard. And we were in a different spot, but I said, well, at least I can look pretty hot.
How did it get pulled in? Was it in a rod holder or what?
No, it wasn't. I just like had it just sitting there because I like just reeled everything up and just like had it sitting there, just basically waiting for me to drop it back down to start fishing again.
What do you think came up and
Jared,
took it?
You have to come up sometime. It is different type of
Do you think
fish.
it was like a pike or a smallmouth that just came up?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. Pike. I've caught there's been times where I've had the same scenario, but I'm like sitting right next to it, like whether it's helping Jackson or whatever, and all of a sudden like a pike takes, comes to the surface and takes your minnow, and then you catch it. And, so I'm sure that's what it was, but just bad timing.
There's always a chance that somebody's going to hook that rod at some point and bring it up and be like, a purple Sturgis rod? What is this?
Did you guys try that for a while?
Well, and that's the thing, too. It's a Mags custom rod. Pat, he owns Mags Custom Rods, UP in Michigan, really popular. And so we've gotten to know Pat throughout the years, and it was just a specially made rod. And so he, if anyone ever said, hey, what's a Sturgis Mags rod? Is this someone you would know? Then it'll narrow it down quick. So maybe someday, it'll turn up. But it was unfortunate, but we had a good day of fishing though.
We did.
Did you guys spend any time trying to snag it?
We tried.
Jeff tried.
So it's not to get into the fishing stuff too much, but there's forward facing sonar. You can see the fish. You can see schools of fish. It's kind of controversial in areas. We like to use it because we always catch our limits up here, but we can catch it faster with the kids. Or we don't even usually go for limits. Like yesterday with Jen's mom here, we wanted to catch 6 fish of our average size, eating size. We throw back the big ones. So that was what we wanted for dinner. So, but anyways, that rock pile, you get on there and you can see where the fish are at. And if you get right over the top of them, and this school might be 10 feet wide, 20 feet long at the most, and it might be 10, 12, 15, 20 fish, whatever, but you can park over them, and you can actually, I'll get the front of the boat on the back side of the school, the back of the boat, so you can jig for them. And so when you're vertical jigging with light jigs and rocks, you tend not to lose a lot of jigs. So that's exactly where her rod went down. So to try to snag that with a big heavy treble hook, I broke one off, and I'm like, well, I mean, we tried. We tried looking for it. We couldn't find it. But you can fish areas like that a lot of people won't fish because you lose so much bait.
Right.
But you can literally get right over the top of them. And you might have a rock pile that's as big as it might be, let's just say a quarter acre, eighth of an acre underwater. And the fish might only be in one corner. And so traditionally with sonar, you'd have to just keep driving around or casting, and where now you can find the fish and then go fish them. And then it's a matter of right presentation, right speed, everything else.
It is it's an interesting thing. I mean, the forward facing stuff, especially, from a personal side, like if you're catching fish to eat or you're doing catch and release, like I use it for crappie fishing all the time. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
like I've got no beef on any of that. Where it comes into play is, now a lot of these, whether it's Bassmasters or whatever, like, banning forward-facing sonar in a lot of the tournaments. And I get that. And that's a weird thing because there's an entire generation of professional fishermen who only have ever used forward-facing sonar, and they're good at it, like really good at it. But really if you take that away from them, I don't know if they could catch a fish in a barrel. Like that's just how they are, And so yeah, that's a big topic on the fishing tournament side for sure.
It's kind of like up here, we always catch what we want for walleye. Jen and I over the years since, for the last 4.5 years, 5 years, whatever it's been, we've been on the water. I've been up here for 10, 11 years. And a lot of times you've come up to here 5 times a year. So, but we've been out on the water around 60 times together, maybe 65. We tried to add it up, but we've been skunked twice. Yep. And so it's not like you don't catch walleye and catch what you want. It helps us catch them faster. But I think the forward-facing sonar, it takes someone that never caught them before, had a really hard time, and now if they know how to use it as a tool, it helps them catch fish, whether good or bad. So bag limits have to be adjusted and everything else. One of the things I heard, a big negative, muskie fishing. So guys are targeting these giant muskies out on a, let's say it's an underwater hump. They wouldn't have even known that fish was there otherwise. And they're targeting that fish in 35 feet of water, some random 50-plus incher. They bring that fish up to the surface, and that fish has a high likelihood of dying. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, these guys are all catch and release, and there's a 54-inch muskie floating around in the water. And so if they were not using that forward-facing sonar and fishing in that area, then that fish would have lived that was 30 years old or whatever that age.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot.
That's one of the
lakes I fish in Kentucky is a big musky lake, and our water temperature, like even right now, we're starting to fall, but we're still in the upper 70s. So like most of the people who are serious about muskie, and even if I get out, like I'm not fishing until that temperature dips below 70, just because those fish get stressed out so much. But with forward-facing sonar, and you can't blame them, but people are just out there and they see a giant fish on sonar and they're going to fish for it. Whether it's 80-degree water or it doesn't matter. And the stress just puts them way over the top for that. But the harvest thing is interesting because, I think historically, just because of how things have been from a catch and release side and stuff, is most waterways were overpopulated. In fact, they needed fish harvested out of there because you're stunting growth of a lot of those species. It's just from a public side and post-COVID world, like that's changed a lot as well.
It's complex. It really is. I even looked up in Ontario when we were coming up here, is it legal to fish with forward-facing sonar? Because in Canada, they have all kinds of different rules. And so we want to follow every rule to the T. So then what I found, it was interesting, Ontario encourages you to use forward-facing sonar to enjoy and increase your enjoyment of the outdoors and catch more fish. They look at it like if you come up here, catch more fish, you'll come back. It's more of at least portions of Ontario tourism. So you could look, but man, it's complex though. It's more, and what's really enjoyable is to actually see, you can learn. It's kind of like trail cameras. If you're using trail cameras and you're using them and you're really collecting that data in your head, and you can learn so much about mature buck behavior and to watch fish, see how they react to baits. I mean, we've had fish like you're fishing in a school, and let's say you're jigging minnows, and all of a sudden you drop down an artificial or a plastic, like a big plastic, and they literally dart the other way and go away from it. So you're getting to see this in real time and find out about fish behavior, even how they school in one portion of a 1/4 acre underwater island. They're only in this small portion for whatever reason over here. It really teaches you about fish habitat. Why are they there? And that's the same thing with trail cameras. It's not just putting a trail camera out and seeing a big buck and it's so easy you can just go kill it. That's not the way it works. You have to ask yourself why. Why is he there? Why is he there at this time? What are the neighbors doing at this time? What food sources are bringing him in at this time? There's so much you can learn with a trail camera, no different than forward-facing sonar. So I think it can really, really give you an in-depth understanding of mature bucks. When not to transition into deer, but we need to at some point. But I'm just saying, like, I really enjoy trail cameras for that aspect. That it really can be. It makes you a better hunter. It makes you understand deer management and habitat management at a much higher level.
Yeah, I agree.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
Man, this one feels good, right? I know people have been looking at this picture over your shoulder for a while now. I think that was 2018, but we just, over the last, how many years, keep coming back to Predator Camo because it's been so damn good for us.
No doubt. I think we bought our first set off of Jen at the Archery Trade Show almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jen's still with the company, and the patterns have only improved since then. They actually were recently acquired within the past couple of years. We've had a chance this past year to go and meet with new ownership, talk about redesigning a lot of the old lines, plans for new patterns, all of the above. So really excited about what's to come, not only this coming year, but in years to come. There's a lot of good stuff coming from Predator.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it's always been going back to that breakup pattern, right? That's the historic look, whether you're talking about the spring greens or brown deceptions or fall grays. Yeah. I mean, that breakup is really what's been so powerful for us in a tree stand. And right now, they're letting anyone use the code HUNTR on the Predator Camo website and get 20% off any of the lines, including all the new stuff that dropped here in July.
Be the Predator.
Well, I mean, with that transition, so you guys have already punched tags in Kentucky. Is this this isn't the first time you guys have hunted Kentucky? I've seen that in the past that you've been out and hunting there, but is this the first time that you guys both punched tags when you were there?
Yes.
Yeah, and it was on our anniversary.
That's
also,
awesome.
so it was so it was great.
It was we'll put the video out, but it was really cool because I shot mine. I'm calling Jen, and she's on stand, and of course she, be quiet. I got a doe in front of me. You tell the story, and I'm just not going to talk. And then, I'm telling her about it, and then her excitement on the phone. I got it all on video. I think Dylan's going to have to edit out a few words in there from Jen.
That's
she's
right.
excited.
That's all right.
And then I think it's 20 minutes later. I'm literally sitting with my buck. And she's calling me, telling me about the buck she just shot, and I got that all on. There were even more words that Dylan has to edit there.
Sorry,
but it was fun. It was kind of like happy anniversary, and then 20 minutes later, happy anniversary. It was cool. It was a unique experience. So
that's all.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So I know this year. So what, opening day I think was the 6th of September. So this was one of the later time periods that opening day happens in Kentucky. I know for me at least, I'd say 50 or 60% of my bucks were shed out of velvet by the time that opening day came out, as compared to, when I think the year previously it was, most of them were still in velvet. Did you guys see any different behavior in that early season hunt this year?
Well,
I would say they're more random.
For sure, more random. And it's so interesting when those bucks are in that when they're in their velvet, and then when they make that transition period and when they're shedding their velvet and they disappear, and then they come back and they are like full hardcore.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we have this conversation pretty often because we see it on our farm too in Minnesota. Where do these bucks go, and are they just more homebodies in their bedding areas? And what do they feel? Is it their
really,
increase
Jeremy,
in testosterone?
Jared, where do
I
they
don't
go?
know.
I mean, it's like the neighbor doesn't see them.
Yeah,
like literally even the outfitter out in Kentucky, they were running. They have about 60 properties over 10,000 acres. I mean, I think they had 92 stands set up for the opening week. It was ridiculous, and so they're patterning. And they know they had, and I want to say the numbers, I'll get them probably wrong, but it was in the high 40s for number of 4-year-olds they thought that they were on somewhat consistently. And then they were right around 25 that were that 160 class and bigger. So they're on these bucks, and they're patterned. I mean, pattern, and all of a sudden,
breaks.
And they have adjoining farms, they have adjoining friends, neighbors that they know, and all of a sudden these bucks are gone, and neighbors don't know where they went. They don't pick them up on other cameras. It's kind of like, do they just? I mean, obviously, it makes you wonder if they just don't move that much.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. They're not like leaving to rub their velvet off. They're just hold tight.
I mean, I think a big one. So like I spent many years watching these deer in research pens, and what's really interesting is when and different deer do different things, but most of these deer are shedding their velvet within a 12 to 18 hour period, if not less than that. But you see a really weird behavior change, almost like a lethargy with them. Like they just don't feel right. Really? Like something is with them to where they're like, I don't feel great about this. And in fact, I've actually seen research facility deer die from pneumonia and infection during that rub out period. So I don't know if there's just a major stressor in the body at that same time. But I do think that they like probably lock down to their beds almost, while that process is happening, and, obviously rubbing and trying to get that off. And then eventually, they're kind of out of it. But yeah, I had the same thing this year. In fact, in my Ohio farm, which is surrounded by EHD, you start holding your breath when 7 or 10 days goes by and these deer are just not showing back up. You're like, is this it? Did they finally get hit with it? And then all of a sudden, boom, all 4 of them that I'm watching show up in the same day. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's just one of those things, like, you can either, and this is with mature bucks in general, you can either take it at face value and just say, well, they always do this. But a step further, you just have to, like we're doing, we're just talking about why.
Yeah.
Because when you figure out the why, then it helps you learn. To me, it associates other mature buck behaviors that you can learn more about too. And it just increases your knowledge about mature bucks in general. So you can't just say the deer always move on November 5th. Well, there's a reason they move November 5th in your area at that time. And you might find that the neighbor always comes and plans his rut vacation the first few days of November, and that's the time that he kicks a buck over to your side. And I mean, it could be something like that, but you have to look at all the angles. And so Jen's buck, we were up there, we were down at those guys. Well, that's a different story too. We're helping them set up food plots, food plot locations, hunting plots versus holding plots, water holes, trying to actually manage the deer instead of just throwing out corn or bait, and looking at their properties, especially the larger ones, where we can actually hold a deer herd here and promote an older age class for years to come. And so we were down there about 3 weeks before the opener, 2.5 weeks. And Jen's buck, we went in on this area. We'll sit in this tree. We can use it with these wind directions. The thermals go this way. And that buck was pretty consistent a lot of the summer. And then all of a sudden, he's just, for 9 days, they hadn't had a patrol.
Wow.
And then when Jen shot him, that was the first time he was back. And he was velvet, and then 9 days gone. And then the 9th day is when she shot him.
Yeah. That it is, I wonder, because it definitely varies. Like, I mean, I'm sure we've all had deer on camera that, you get a picture of them at whatever, midnight, and they're in velvet, and then you get one at 5 a.m. and they're out. Like, just that fast. Like, it's but you do have a lot of these deer that do this, 6 to 10 day plus disappearance. And I don't think that they're, to Jared's point, I don't think they're out legging around doing things. For whatever's going on in their body, I think they're just really, really holding tight to a small area.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that kind of goes back to the early season patterns. We've coming from Michigan, where it's October 1st opener, and then even Minnesota and Wisconsin, where it opens up around the 15th to 17th, 14th at the earliest. And outside of hunting Kentucky, I've never been involved. Like, even going down there, they're like, wouldn't it be cool if that buck you're after is in velvet? And I really don't care. I mean, I've always hunted hardhorn my whole life. A lot of people really love that velvet, and I think it's cool that, people really want to shoot a buck in velvet. To me, it's take it or leave it. It really doesn't matter to me. In fact, mine had shed within 24 hours, and so it still had blood stained on its antlers. I thought
that's
that was
really
pretty
cool.
Hardhorn, blood stained. But we've never been around this, and so to watch those patterns right at that time, we've really been more laser focused on it the last few years. And I find they're like that consistent pattern where they're on that pattern almost every day in August. And then if you can hunt at that time frame, man, that's where those outfitters down there make their money. It's why over half their clients for the entire year are in that opening week, because the pattern. But then you throw in that opener on the 6th instead of the 2nd. You throw in a major cold front that came through right before, and that consistency goes out the window. And it doesn't come back. I mean, it comes back for some bucks, and then that's kind of that next step is what we look for. Like in Minnesota, Wisconsin, we're looking for big cold fronts. It pushes those bucks into some of their other ranges at that time. You start to see glimpses of bucks that are going to be more mainstays in October, November, December. And we're hunting in Kentucky before that takes place, and so it's really kind of a cool, unique thing for us that I've never been able to experience. It's kind of opens up your eyes a little bit more, learn a little bit more about bucks.
Jeff, what do you think constitutes like an early season pattern? You know, I mean, I think just like if we can dig into what that actually means, it's like myself or guys that are listening to this might be like, well, I have pictures of a deer on a certain bait pile or scrape or food source fairly consistently. I'm like, is that a pattern? Is it the fact that I'm getting a picture of him there doing that? Do I have a complete enough thought around what he's doing? Or is it a multitude of like sightings and or sign and or trail camera locations that like, you know, you think you can hone in on to say, okay, I think he's doing this? I guess what I'm asking is like, is it just the one camera on the one corn pile? Is that like as straightforward as it gets? Or is it, hey, there's 2 or 3 things here. I'm seeing a movement pattern that I think I can capitalize on somewhere in between this.
I want to see an anchor of that movement. Mm-hmm. And so what I mean by that is, where's his food source? And so to me, it doesn't matter if it's
food source,
middle of summer, spring, winter, fall. He's anchored by that food source. Mm-hmm. And that's why on public land, it's so hard to pattern a buck over a long period of time on public land, unless you have unique circumstances like adjoining private land food plots that establish a consistent food pattern. Mm-hmm. So in public land, you're hunting the food source of the moment. That might be a 2 or 3 week thing, like early acorn drop in early September, white oak. I've been hunted area in southeast Ohio, like the Shawnee State Forest, where man, you go into a white oak area and there's rubs, scrapes everywhere. You're there at the end of October and you're like a month late.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 3 weeks late and they're just not there. Mm-hmm. And so where if you have that anchor of movement, kind of again, asking yourself why is that buck in this location right now on September 10th? If it's because he's feeding in that area, you know, especially a food plot on private land, and you have consistency in that food plot or diversity, where he can consistently hit that every night, and you don't see that changing because of the diversity you have in that food, then you could say, well, that's early season pattern. That might even blend into October lull pattern, and then the rut, you know, might be a little bit different. But if there's something that anchors that movement early season, then that's where it's dependable.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you just hitting a random scrape or a random food source, and you don't have that consistency, and you can't explain why he's there. So that's what I'm looking for. And so if I was, you know, I want to make sure when I'm stepping out in the woods that, you know, we might get a picture. We have a buck that we call Mikey, and he's at least a 5-year-old. He's a beautiful 9-point, and Mikey's pretty tight around a certain food source or set of food sources. Mm-hmm. If we see Mikey all of a sudden 400 yards away, and it's on a Saturday night, I'm not going to go jump in that stand that's nearby and hunt him. I'm thinking that neighbor was moving around, just some random pack of coyotes ran through, pushed him away. He got spooked by some does that were spooking. He ran over there. But because I want to go back to what anchors in that early season.
So how are you monitoring those food sources? I assume it is with trail cameras. Is it just on the food source itself? Are you using like a 360 surveillance? Is there a scrape in that location or something that pulls them right to a specific, you know, spot for the camera? Or how are you doing that?
We have a lot of cameras on food sources to watch them grow. Mm-hmm. So we like watching our food grow, seeing how it's doing. We really like watching it come in, germinate, see how fast it's germinate, and, you know, owning a food plot seed company, that's kind of what we enjoy doing. So we see them out there. What you find this time of year is when they're coming into a food source, it's crazy because they're coming in one area of that food source, and you could have cameras on either side 50 yards away and you're not getting this picture.
Yeah.
But so if you have, in all our setups, we have a bedding area location. There might be multiple bedding area stands, usually 1 or 2. Food source stands are just those movements to the food sources on a mock scrape. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think on the 4.5 acres back there, we have like 4 stands and blinds anchored around there maybe. Yeah. And so we're, you know, bedding area stand on a water hole. a side movement on a little hunting plot, a water hole on the opposite side that's like 300 yards away from the other water hole and a little bit lower elevation. So you start seeing consistency, and he was here, he was here, he was over here with a trail camera. Where back in the day, like 80s, 90s, we were literally sitting on ag fields, a couple rows back in corn, on folding lawn chairs and binoculars and snacks, and just watching where they come out into the fields.
Yeah.
It's just kind of different. Or we drive around, look for bucks in the summer right now, looking for them. But the cameras are a big thing, and then in-person observations off to the side of a field. It's kind of fun sneaking in right before dark. We've done that like last year. We went back and sat in the corn, watched a little corner of the alfalfa just to see where these bucks are coming out. Snacks, something to drink.
Yep.
Kind of same. So we kind of a blend of all of it.
We mentioned, I think earlier, about the drought that we're in right now. And so like what we traditionally would call like reliable early season food sources, clover plots, bean fields, alfalfa fields. Granted, I don't have any alfalfa on my Ohio farm, but we have a bean field that I still think is working kind of as an anchor. Clover is non-existent. I mean, hasn't rained in 2 months, type of a thing. It's completely droughted out. But we do have a really heavy acorn crop, and whether you have those green food sources or not, they seem to, at least include that, if not transition completely onto those. And where Jeremy and I are at, I think both of our Ohio farms, it's like an oak pattern is really challenging because they're just everywhere. There's like, 60 to 80% of the trees are oak trees, and a good percentage of them are white oaks. And so it's really challenging to key in on the one. I mean, you can boots on the ground. I mean, you can go find where's the scat, where's the heaviest foot traffic. You can find that, but it requires a little bit more, pressure, scouting to go in and find that. And so like in this very moment, I'm finding myself more than ever feeling like I could default to an October morning pattern because the bedding areas haven't changed. And the transition areas back into those that I'm monitoring, like with scrapes and stuff, are still there. And so while I'm not getting much of any pattern, despite several shooters in the evenings, I don't know. They're just not on, I don't know where to find them type of a thing. I am getting them pretty consistently mid-morning coming back to bed here.
Right.
And so
that's kind of the bedding area is your anchor.
Yeah. So it's kind of flopped for me this year. I'm like, I generally don't hunt October mornings very often at all until mid to late, we get those cold fronts, but frankly, I'm considering it. I'm getting enough consistency, like 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning right now on some of these bucks that are coming back, I assume from browsing acorns and stuff, and they're still working their normal spots back. So
I think the big thing too is like with the weather conditions we've had and where we're at, like I said earlier today, it's going to be 89 degrees, right? And it's super dry. I think in a lot of these deer, if you look, they've already shed out of their summer coats. They're into their fall coats at this point. I think a lot of them have a lot of activity at night into early morning with the cooler temperatures, and all day they're laying around in their bed. And I don't really think that they're being that active at 5, 6, 7 p.m. because it's still 80 degrees out. They're pushing that later into the night when it's cooler temperatures, and then they're using the early morning temperatures to their benefit to keep moving and then make their way back. So you almost have this weird shift to where normally early season, it's like evenings are the time to be out there. It seems like especially the mature bucks are just hanging back in their beds a little bit longer. Maybe it's also acorns that are slowing them down.
Yeah, it is.
And that
sure.
transition too.
Here's my thought. Here's my synopsis of it at this point, and it helps that we're talking this through. I think because I bumped one yesterday. I bumped a 5-year-old buck under a stand I was going in to hang. And I think they're just getting up when they normally would get up, and they're just taking forever to, their acorns like within 20, 30 yards of they're just doing that for a while. They're watching the other bucks and does start to like trickle out in that direction. I think that's like their main feed, right? I think that's what they're feeding on. I still think they're going to those open areas though, like those destination
from
ag
like
fields.
a socialization standpoint.
From a socialization standpoint, there's still some green beans on those. There's still some alfalfa that they'll get to. I just think that like by midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning, they want to get out and do a loop around and just do what they do. They're not scraping as much, I think, because of the moisture thing we talked about, but they're doing that thing because that's creating the coming back to bed pattern. They're still coming from there.
Sure.
They're just not in any rush at all to get there anywhere near, last light type of a thing.
Yeah. That, I like that open area socialization aspect too, because I think they do hit that, but if there's not a consistent quality food source there's no reason for them to get there before dark.
Right, sure.
And at all. So to me, like what you guys are saying, especially with drought and the food plot's not really working out at the moment, it's almost like a public land pattern.
Yeah.
So on public land, you're hunting acorn drop, you're hunting funnels, you're hunting transition areas from known bedding areas where it's away from people traffic, remote areas where there's enough depth where those bedding areas can still hold deer. And then you're hunting those lines of movement, whether it's habitat change, terrain change, age of timber change on the way to an afternoon food source. And so right now your food sources are the acorns. And the only difference on public land typically, and not in all cases, of course, but they're not transitioning it out into an open field, at night. But to me, the open field is safe, social, and they're going there. But you guys are almost like in a public land pattern right now, public land hunting pattern, where we've been pretty fortunate with our food plots. We have some neighbors that are more corn and bean based, and right now the beans are turning brown, and they don't have a lot of green, where we have some really high quality green, and a lot of it. And so Jen watched 2 bucks the other night feed for over an hour in one of the green blends, and they just sat there and ate.
Yeah, the whole time they never left.
Yeah, they just chowed down, and so we're seeing that. But if we didn't have those, it'd be purely random, and they'd be out in the alfalfa at night somewhere. But it's everywhere. There's no reason to run out right before. There's no reason to expose themselves. So.
Yeah, I mean, I still have confidence in, especially any of the perennial clover, like, and even I did some of like the Big Boost 365 that you guys have out too. Like any of those plots, like in fact, I went in and I mowed some of these just big broadleaf weeds off of them a couple weeks ago, and like you can immediately see like the clover's there. It's just suppressed, right? Like it's not actively putting, all of the resources are in the roots, right? That's all it cares about right now. And the moment that it gets some rain here, it's going to come back, right? And it'll be slow just because the soil is so dry, that topsoil layer, but it'll start building back. And so between that, and then in most cases, we've got rye out, right? It's just waiting to germinate, basically.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so those are the two things that, you maybe first week of October, you catch an inch of rain or so, and those things, especially with cooler nights and days, are going to really thrive.
Can I ask, since you mentioned that rye, what do you think about that, guys? So 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
I put out like 250 pounds of rye, broadcast it, per acre. And it did rain. The next day it rained like maybe a quarter of an inch, but I go out there now and it's like you literally couldn't tell. It's
dust.
It's just literally dust. I mean, do you think that stuff will germinate and eventually take off, or is it like it's going to never reseeded?
We had 2 years ago when we had our drought and you guys didn't. So it was August, September, it was 2023. We had rye that germinated in the spring.
Wow.
But laid there all winter long, and it just came up in the spring because when we did get moisture, it got cold so fast that it and rye, they've had Michigan State University studies where it's germinated down to 37 degree soil temperature.
Yeah, I've seen that.
In the 30s. So it's the coldest germinating seed that you can buy. But at the same time, everything happened so fast. It was too cold.
Yeah.
It rained, turned to ice, and it just sat there.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't suspect that would happen with you guys. But yeah, that rye is so hardy.
Yeah.
It'll just stay there.
I guess what I was afraid of, and I haven't looked at it close enough to know, is like if it gets just enough rain to germinate, but not enough to embed itself in the soil, not enough to grow from that point, is like, will it die in that stage?
Much more hardy than like a bean seed, because a bean seed is soft, it'll rot.
Yeah.
It'll just fizzle, it'll just dry up. Where rye isn't like that, but there is a time limit.
Yeah.
There is a time window.
Yeah.
And that's the same for any seed that germinates like that. So that's the only That's the only fear. Like if you looked at, but I would suspect with a 1/4 inch of rain, that you would have only had a small percentage of that rye actually germinating. You need, like I would want to see a 1/4 inch, couple days later, maybe a 1/2 inch thrown in over a couple weeks.
Sure, yeah, me too. That'd be great.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, it's
love to see that as well.
Meaning like to germinate.
Yeah,
we're like, the problem is like a brassica seed, those tiny little seeds, a tillage radish.
Yep.
That would have germinated with that 1/4 inch of rain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then it died. And then exactly what you're talking about would have happened.
Yep.
But that rye takes a little bit more to germinate.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Very hardy, but it just takes a little bit more.
That happened first. That's what
the brassica germinated.
I
then
did
it died.
Literally, no. We planted. I drilled it all actually. 3rd week of July and into. I don't know what we had at that time. You said it right. I think early to mid July was the last Yep. That's when we were like, it's shutting off here. And then, you're right, Jen? Sneak it out. And then it was enough to germinate. And I went out and checked it like a week or two later. I'm like, because I had an instance, I don't know, a couple of years ago where I didn't germinate for whatever reason. So I always have to, it's complex. I have to go check. And it did germinate. And I was like, cool, should be good.
And it looked pretty good.
Looked pretty decent, and then it just
shut off.
And then it just shut off from there. So I was hopeful that we'd catch a rain again eventually, and just kind of never did. The deer, we're doing what deer do. They're just hammering anything green. So any brassicas that were there got destroyed, or they got droughted out because it never rained again. And then a month and a half later, I was like, I got this 50% chance of a 1/4 inch of rain, so I had Dad go out and broadcast 250 pounds per acre plus, nitrogen. I thought there might still be a brassica alive at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We got that, and I can't tell that there's been any germination on that, and we're still in it. So I'm still kind of like, and maybe by the end of this podcast, you can give me some hope of there is still a play or a plan, or maybe that rye will germinate. But
I assume you still have germination possibility.
The other thing, Jeff, is we don't have that in the Midwest, like at our farm in Illinois. I still, even today, I'm like, hey, I still think we could drill some brassicas and we might get a few inches out of them. I might have some sort of green attraction there for early and mid-season, but in Ohio, it's just not going to happen. Quality. The soil quality's not there. It's just,
I think that, focusing on a few tillage radish, buckwheat. Buckwheat is a really early attraction. So meaning when it grows, it doesn't matter. Now in the spring, there's so much green, they don't really care about it. But when you start planting buckwheat, August, September, late July, September, even early October, then that buckwheat can really be tender young, and it's a huge attraction. But it'll grow just about anywhere.
I just put
so that's a really good, buckwheat, and another one, tillage radish.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Tillage radish is the fastest growing brassica. So it'll germinate very fast. It comes up. And so when you start mixing buckwheat, 25 pounds per acre, about a half a planting, tillage radish, 5 pounds per acre, it's about 1/3 of a planting or 40% of a planting. You mix that with 50 pounds of rye because it's a sure thing. And I'm talking late. So you get quick growing, hard hitting, and then you're following it up with another layer of rye. That's a really good way to offset, potential losses from over browsing too, let alone drought. And then with food plotting, you're going to get rain.
Yeah.
You're going to get rain in October, November, whatever time frame it is. You guys are a little bit further south, so
hopefully.
It
seem pretty optimistic. It will rain again someday.
It will rain
at this point, I don't know.
But the point is, you can't you're trying to control so many other things with deer hunting. What stand to use, the wind direction, the entire strategy. I think we get so consumed with all that strategy. That's what I love about deer hunting. Mm-hmm. And so the food plotting aspect, it's more something you just don't stress about. Do the best you can. So right now, especially I wouldn't hesitate, even up by us in Minnesota, Wisconsin, across New York, Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, into the Dakotas, if you're spreading buckwheat this time of year, you think, well, it's going to frost in 4 weeks, but it's a really good attraction. If you're getting rain in the next week and it pops, you could get 3 weeks of pretty good browsing on the buckwheat while the tillage radish is being established, some rye is being established. The point is, you had dreams of the perfect alfalfa field, clover field, bean mixed with this, whatever. It didn't work out. Plant something realistic for this later type of the season. Don't look at something like that this is a drought-proof food plot planting. This is good for, don't look at it like that or latest and greatest food plot blend. Just look at some of these hardcore, hard-hitting plants that grow fast, that tolerate some cold, and you have a diversity and blend in there, and just throw it down and enjoy the season.
You think
and
broadcast at this
point? You got
point?
too many other things to worry about.
You think broadcast at this point will work, or does that stuff need drilled?
Drilling is always better.
Yeah.
But broadcasting, buckwheat is really good. Tillage radish is great for broadcasting. Rye is great for broadcasting. And those are all quick growing. Oats are okay. Oats take a little bit more to germinate than rye.
Yeah.
And oats need better soil than rye.
Interesting.
Real quick, can you give us that breakdown one more time? You said 25 pounds of buckwheat.
Yeah. So I would look at this as a layering step, meaning that in this transition time right now, where when you get into October, like if you guys were October 10th and your food plots look like garbage, but there's something there.
There's a good chance.
I might. Yeah. So October 10th, 15th, I would go in with 300 pounds per acre of rye or wheat. And, wheat needs better soil. But I would go in there, just throw it right over the top of your food plot and enjoy the season.
Yep.
Because it doesn't matter if it germinates the third week of October, you're going to be fine. I had rye germinate with a last few days, October 1st, snowfall in the UP in Michigan.
Wow.
It snowed on the rye. And then the next week we had 60s and 70s for temperatures. 5 inches of snow melted and the rye germinated.
Wow.
That's really pushing it. That was all the way in northern, UP in Michigan. So right now, that transition period, 5 pounds of tillage radish, 25 pounds of buckwheat per acre. You could even go 50 because it's not going to even get to maturity. You're not looking at total growth and volume.
Sure.
And then 50 pounds, 75 pounds, even 100 pounds of rye per acre. And so you're getting something. That the problem with starting with too much rye is it can suppress the buckwheat and tillage radish.
Suffocate it out.
So I'd probably go 50 pounds rye, 25 to 50 pounds of buckwheat, and then the 5 pounds of tillage radish. And then I'd plan on covering that up with some rye about 4 weeks later. And so if you look at the soil and it's pretty open and bare, you didn't have germination, it's horrible. And that's where you start looking at, maybe 200 to 300 pounds of rye per acre. You just want to fill space. But if you look at it and you have about 50% soil exposure, 60%, 40%, somewhere around there, then I'd look at more like 150 pounds of rye per acre and then just forget about it from there on.
What does buckwheat look like kind of in its infancy? Like if you planted it October 1st, and caught a rain pretty quickly, what is that going to look like going into the season?
It's got a little red stem, and it's got 2 leaves that are almost like half of a clover leaf, and they're kind of big.
Yeah, it looks like a broadleaf weed almost.
Yeah,
it sure does.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I did, and I don't know if it'll work, but so I had planted and this is the second year we've had drought in Ohio, which sucks, but I have 4 clover plots on the top of the ridge of my Ohio place. I've got 230 acres, and think of it as like a big horseshoe. And so I've got 4 clover plots on this horseshoe on the top. And this spring, that perennial plot power was beautiful. It's like the most amazing thing I saw. Last year, I got it in the fall, but then we were in a drought, so it didn't really come in that well. Spring looked great. Then obviously we hit this drought, and like I was saying, I don't know, pre-podcast or in the early opening, I mowed some broadleaf weeds off there, and I was surprised with how much clover is there. It's just suppressed, but you can also see a lot of bare dirt because there's nothing else growing either. So I did on all 4 of those plots, assuming we're going to get rain, and that clover will bounce back a little bit here, with the cooler temperatures in the fall. I did about 15 pounds of buckwheat and 25 pounds of rye per acre overseeded in those clover plots. With the thought process of maybe the buckwheat comes up and does some stuff. I don't want too much rye because I do want the clover to still come up healthy, but enough that it'll be an attraction, and then I'll just terminate it in the springtime, right? So that's what I did in those 4 plots, as kind of just an overseed opportunity there,
sure.
Just to see what happens.
Yeah, and all those have the ability especially in that bare ground, to jump up quick, and
Yep.
the buckwheat and rye, and it'll just complement the clover.
So I figured. So, you know, and
or if you added more clover at this time of year,
mm-hmm.
it's not going to show until next spring.
Exactly.
And
right.
for it be any appreciable. So
right. So yeah,
you want something with a little bit of power.
That's what I figured. And so, you know, if anything, like even if that clover comes back a little bit here in, let's say, October, those deer are going to hammer it down by the time November gets here, where, you know, that buckwheat will help suppress or help support that stuff in October. And then November, December, January, I've got rye coming up.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by DeerGro.
Man, hard to believe, but DeerGro has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at DeerGro.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer. Dude, guys, it's just been wild to see, like, we both our plots in, I don't know, June, July, were like immaculate, beautiful. Beans this tall.
Yeah, lush clover
you saw my
plots.
clover too. They look the same.
Yeah.
The clover was just like, oh my, I can't believe how good it looks, And then just to see the degradation of, like, not just the plots, but everything and anything green since then, like in the past 2 months, is just... It's crazy, actually. Like even the ag beans and stuff. It's like stuff that was 3 foot tall beans 2 months ago now is like 1.5 foot tall, just stubble, like half the field. It's like I know it's not an overpopulation thing. Like we don't have more deer. They're just annihilating everything.
It's like I was surprised when we were down in Kentucky just how many brown cornfields we saw.
Yeah,
You're pointing that out. Brown cornfields, beans that were already mature. It seems so soon for, and that was when we were down in August.
Yeah.
Middle of August when we were down there. And what's interesting in talking about this, because I feel so bad for you guys and the people around the area.
That's what we want. We just want you to feel bad for us.
Just sympathy.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's kind of like the EHD problem was something that where we're at in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and I think it's, if you look at these EHD areas, that they get hit every few years, every 10 years, whatever the patterns are, and they're all over the place. But southern Michigan, portions of Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, you look at these areas, Missouri, Iowa, but a lot of these areas are drought prone.
Yeah.
Areas in the end of summer. And so even when you're talking about in these drought areas with food plots, you really need to go into it. This is the best case scenario, but what's plan B? Plan B being not something you might plant differently in July or August, but what's a solid plan going into it so you're not caught scrambling and just plan. If you have drought and you planted XYZ in early August, then this is probably what you're going to need to do in early September, mid-September to take hold of that. Just don't show up at the property October 1st and complain about your food plots. Just know that we're typically, if we watch those initial rains end of July, August, if we don't miss them, meaning like the perfect planting window is August 2nd. But if we get a bunch of rain on July 24th and 25th, 27th, we better not miss it.
Yeah, don't miss it.
Because and then because that's that time of year where we're getting adequate rain, not an overabundance. So we rarely have a time where it's complete drought. Except when you get into September and October. So if we've had a good start on our food plots and they're healthy for 3 or 4 weeks, they're good.
Yeah, you're off.
We can't miss rains. But you guys down there, man, and that might be, maybe that's why we don't get EHD up by us. It's been within a few miles, but nothing north of us. Just because maybe our traditional rain patterns are just a little bit more, so we actually avoid it.
We've been tracking it, you and I have been, for at least, I would say 3 years. That's as far back as my memory can go. But we've been tracking it fairly diligently as far as like, did we have successful fall plots or not? Mm-hmm. The past 2 years, so not this year, but the 2 years prior, definitely recall having like, hey, the rain shut off conversations.
It was later though, because our brassica plots were established and looking really good, and then it shut off, and then the deer just mowed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but we had, like you said, we had plots. We had success that year, and then rye has always been like plan B or see wherever we're at that point. So I've never, until this year, felt like we were really scrambling. I was like, worst comes to worst, we'll hit it with heavy rye, and it'll fill in whatever's the brassicas, you know. But this year now, finally, it's like, frankly, a lot of those plots were in clover that looked awesome and stuff. And so that was like plan A. And then when they started to like, you know, or whatever, then some plan B was like, well, let's get them into brassicas. And then it just sits in the soil for a month and never rains. And then plan C now is the rye. But I'm like, it still hasn't rained and still no hope of rain. I'll paint a picture for you too. We went and talked to, in fact, two different neighbors yesterday, but one in particular has lived there his whole life. He's like in his 60s, and he's like, he was telling us yesterday that there's a pond on his property or a small, you know, whatever body of water that he's never seen it empty, like never seen it dry. And what he's like 37 years is what he recalls. He's like, I've never seen it dry. He's like, I went up there yesterday, and he's like, not a drop of water in it.
Dry.
He's like, it's the first time in my entire life that I've seen the thing.
My pond behind my house is down about 4 feet right now.
Wow.
You know, and it's just, I was just looking, I mean, we're down about 4 inches of rain in the last 60 days. And people might not think that sounds like a lot, but when you really only get 4 inches of rain in August and September, right? It is a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the difference. It's
terrible.
like, you know, if it's a month where you get 9 inches of rain and you're down 4 inches, that's not that bad. But when you're talking about 2 months, of which combined you usually only get 4 inches of rain, being down 4 inches is everything.
Well, here's a silver lining. In addition, guys, to so I think what you're recommending there is going to end up being like, we're going to have to, there's a last minute play here to keep green. That's really important. In the meantime, Jeremy and I bought some feeders this year, and it's the first time I'll have an actual feeder. Like, we've always, you know, thrown corn out on the ground and stuff, but it's not like a reliable food source. We bought 2,000-pound feeders, you know, 4 of them between the two of us. And so at least I'm thinking, okay, like when it starts getting tough, like, you know, February, like there will be something there for them. And lastly, guys, I went and on top of like the 10-acre bean field that I have as a central destination food source that at this point is, you know, I don't know, 40 to 50% left, maybe even of the pods because they've been crushing them. I'm going to buy 6 acres of grains back from the farmer. I call them. It's the first time we've ever done that. And I'm like, hey, you know, you have to go backwards to those grain sources to be like, I just need something for them to survive on now on these February, March. So that's what we're doing.
Well, establish that pattern. Establish that pattern of use, that anchor.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, I think like even like so like we're in, you know, Minnesota, you know, Wisconsin, you know, like we can't bait. You know, in fact, we really don't like to anyways. Like I feel like even when you go to the UP of Michigan and Jeff hunts public land, you know, that they can bait up there, but where Jeff goes, he's walking in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, hour and a half away from everyone. So he's like,
I get in the middle of all the bait piles.
Right. So he's not going to bring in
meaning a half mile that way, a mile and a quarter that way. I mean, like I'm in a remote.
Right.
I go into some remote areas.
Right. But like, so
that's the thing. We never had to consider whether we should bait or not on our own property.
Right.
We're not.
Doesn't exist.
I grew up in a baiting state of Michigan.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming people that bait. I'm not saying I'm anti-baiting. We would rather, it's kind of like crossbow. I would rather shoot a vertical bow. That's the enjoyment of shooting to me, is with a vertical bow, not a crossbow. If my shoulder was bad this year, which there was some thought it might be, I'd use a crossbow to hunt. You know, and it's baiting. You want to use baiting, do your thing.
Right.
Yep.
But we would rather not. But it's kind of when I go down to properties in Ohio, I'm there a lot for clients, and the thought always comes up. You know, almost all of those clients want to get away from baiting, and I see it as baiting as a complement to a good
It is.
Food plot program and already a good food source program on your property.
Sure.
And almost like a competition factor, unfortunately.
It absolutely is.
But then right now that baiting can be that anchor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but even so with that, like when I was listening to you guys talk about like food plots and then like the acorns and then like, you know, the feeders and stuff that you're buying. So like with your drought and like we've even seen, and we're not in a drought like you guys are. We've had rain, not a lot of it recently, but we've had rain, and we've noticed that our deer are starting to hit our water holes earlier than what they do in like previous
like
years.
In the last week.
Yeah, it's
when it's been dry. They normally don't hit them that hard right now. It's more of a mid-October thing.
Yeah.
But with that and like your guys' food plots being down, like those beans turning brown already, and then even the corn turning brown and like food plots and like not doing well, like deer get a lot of their H2O from eating those plants. So without those, like that could be an additional anchor piece.
Huge.
Yeah.
You know,
or a complement to that anchor.
Right. Could just be one of those like water holes because you can fill those.
And that's why with her, you know, Whitetail Project Outfitters, they're one of our partners. I mean, they gave, like, you guys donate to our charity event every year. They donated a $5,000 rifle hunt for Southwest Kentucky. You know, they're one of our big partners. They use our seed, and then we go down there and they're looking at it like Kentucky will outlaw baiting someday.
Absolutely.
And they want to be on the forefront of everything we do on private land, meaning big anchoring holding plots, small hunting plots, water holes, bedding area stands, trying to build a herd. And so that's what we're looking towards down there too. And that baiting can be a part of it all right now. It's almost like the bait becomes the holding plot. The water holes are still there as a hunting source on the way to and from those areas. You're still hunting the outside of bedding areas. It's just you're replacing that holding plot with bait, and you guys are fortunate you can do that. But it's establishing all those pieces.
Yeah, well,
and that's why we like, you know, that's what they're looking forward to doing, why we like going down there, just because it's part of what we do. If it was just going down there and sitting on a corn pile and we couldn't be a part of the whole process, it's relaxing, actually.
It's an interesting thing when you look at it. So like I'm in more like East Central Kentucky. So I'm probably like an hour or so from where you guys were at, east of Louisville. And I'm in a lower deer density area. They got hit with EHD in 2019 and 2021. So, I mean, it definitely has knocked it back. But the farm that I purchased a few years ago, when I bought it, had like literally like $6 on it. And like 3 of those were 1-year-olds basically. And, you know, now I've probably got 17 or 18 different bucks using that property.
Nice.
But what's really interesting is it's old cattle pasture, that whole area. So I put 5 or 6 acres of standing beans in it, and I've got some standing corn in the old pasture fields, and I've got clover and alfalfa in there. And like I want to say it was the second week of August, I went in and just put some corn piles out, mainly to just, you know, get better looks at like what are these deer, these 3-year-olds, these 4-year-olds. And I can tell you that on 2 of them, the corn, it germinated. Like they didn't eat. You know what I mean? And people might like raise an eye about it, but it's like they didn't hit the corn piles hard enough to like wipe it out. Like there was a pile of corn left and it germinated. Like they didn't eat it.
That's pretty crazy.
And so, you know, part of that is lower deer density, but part of that is, I mean, they had so much other food at that time. And even though we were kind of in the middle of the drought at that point, I think there also was some early acorns dropping from some chestnut oaks and stuff. Like they had other food. So like, they just didn't feel, they hit it every once in a while, but they didn't feel compelled to like, I'm going to marry myself to this corn pile and like wipe it out. They just didn't need to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. You get into it. I mean, like with the bear bait that we're on now, it's like, can we use a better bear bait? I mean, there's a lot of people that are really into it. A guy in northern Minnesota that we know, we've been there for bear hunting, but they put some sweeteners on them.
Yeah.
And so even the corn piles that the outfitters use, and they put a sweetener top on it. You can smell it. I mean, you just walk by the bait pile, it smells good. It's like molasses.
Yep.
And it's a feed mix that they put on top of the corn. So it's kind of like, and we've even heard like certain bucks like they put that sweetener on, and if that buck hits, he'll be there the next day.
Yeah, he'll keep coming back.
If they don't have that sweetener on it and it's just corn, he might not be there the next day. He hit it. It's kind of like if a bear comes into a bait. Yeah. It's like, I'll eat these apples and a couple Twinkies and some corn. But man, if there's some molasses on there, I'd be back.
Well,
if I had some,
you have to wonder about it. I mean, because like those corn piles are, I don't know, within a few hundred yards of 3 or 4 acres of standing corn, and that have good cobs on them and stuff. Like, I'm sure they're eating those. So, like, are they really seeing a big difference between that and, a 50-pound sack that was dumped on the ground? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it.
It's no different than a food plot.
Yeah.
In diversity. So what we're always trying to do is, what's the best green blend that we can give them that'll offer the most attraction. So like this year we have we have Rut Zone, we have our Big Boost Brassica, and we have our Fall Power on our 5 big plots that are out of our 18 acres. Those probably total, I'd say 9, acres, 10 acres.
What's the Rut Zone, Jeff? I'm not sure I know that one.
That one's the Big Boost Brassica, the Fall Power. That's our traditional fall planting time. When we're planting around August 1st.
Yep.
Rut Zone has a bean component, and it has tillage radish, buckwheat, and peas. Okay. And so we want to get those in early enough to plant a pea or to grow a bean.
Okay.
But we don't want them early enough that it's during fawn drop time. So we establish a whole bunch of does and fawns. So we're establishing that after fawn drop time. So we planted this year that July 2nd.
Gotcha.
And so we have pods and beans. That's somewhat of a mixture I've used since 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. But always trying to look at this green blend. When can I plant it? So by stepping that back, it's not too early. And the whole goal from that is right now the green, there's green bean leaves. Everywhere else around us, the beans are turning brown and maturing. We have green bean leaves. So they're, but the buckwheat, there's enough in there that it acts as a nurse crop, so they're not hammering the beans when it first comes up. So the beans can be established under a smaller planting of buckwheat. And then you have the peas. We use I think it's a 40-10 pea. So it's a vining pea, so it goes up the buckwheat and the beans like a trellis, gets exposed to sunlight, and so you get a lot more volume of pea per acre, which will stay green through November, December than you would if you just planted a normal pea. And then you have the tillage radish in there. Yeah. And so next year I can say that we are changing that blend. And we're going to reduce the amount of buckwheat per acre. We're increasing the amount of bean. We're slightly reducing the amount of tillage radish. And then we're adding another component to it. But the whole idea is you want something that's, like they were hitting it pretty hard about a month after it came up.
I bet.
And then it's holding really strong right now. And what it's doing ultimately is we have the Big Boost Brassica. So that's 50% of the big plot. A big plot, meaning it could be a plot that's 1.25 acres. So half of that is that. And then 25% is Brassica, 25% is the Fall Power.
Gotcha.
What's really cool is you plant that and they start to hit it at about that 1 month time, because those does and fawns aren't hanging around there like an army waiting anyway.
Right.
They're just wherever they're at. So then you get that coming in, they're starting to browse on it. Well, we plant the Fall Power and Big Boost about a month later. And so when this rut zone is starting to come in, the Fall Power has the young buckwheat, has peas, has annual clover in it. So they start to hit that pretty hard, take some pressure off the rut zone. And then the Big Boost Brassica over here, it's kind of, oh, by the way, that's there. They don't even really, they're letting that get mature.
Yeah.
So they have, 3/4 of the plot that they can hit different things maturing at different times. The whole idea, it'd be nice if we had a bean that's still there going into November, December. But we had 8.5 acres of corn at one time on our food plots, in total.
Yeah.
And we're brush hogging 3 acres of it down in the spring, and they're not really touching it till the end of December, early. We can't brush hog it. We can't run it over.
During the season.
Oh. Right. And so they're not hitting it. So it's really kind of like,
that's what I've had to do in the past too. It's kind of frustrating because you plant a big grain like that. Yeah, it's very expensive. You plant a big grain like that thinking it's going to be one of these anchors, particularly in the late season, right? When it's like it's cold, they need this. And then come like March and April, I'm like, I still have tons of corn on the
Yeah.
Like that I got to bush hog
There seems to
down.
be a pretty distinct, like
that I got to
there
bush hog
seems to
down.
be a pretty distinct, like they don't like it on the cob. They want it on the ground.
Yeah, so that's when you look at, like, just watch some of the hunting industry shows.
Oh yeah, they're mowing it all.
Though they're sitting basically 3-4 rows back in a pop up.
Yep.
And it looks like they're hunting over a picked cornfield. No, it's been brush hog.
It's been mowed down.
And
yeah.
And you mow it down on, you plan on hunting the weekend of November 6th, October 31st, December 1st, and you mow down 2 acres of corn in front of a pop-up blind and go sit in it, you're going to see it.
They're coming. They're coming.
That's the move, dude. Yeah. I mean,
the only other time I really see them crushing it would have been, sometime, I guess, late July during that, like, silk phase. Like,
oh my God, yeah,
they just, and there's so much water content there too at that same time. But I mean, they if they're gonna hit it on the stock per se, and I'm not saying that they don't throughout the season. Like, I see them opening it up and stuff, but they, there's no cornfields around me, and like, again, I'll have of 3 acres, there'll be plenty of corn still there come March this year.
So that's kind of like, so if you're in traditional ag area and you're trying to plant food plots as in food plot corn, and you have ag fields next door, and your corn ends up representing a pass through from where they bed out to alfalfa at night or out to beans, and even if they have standing corn right next to all of that, your corn isn't covered with pesticides and herbicides.
No, it's going to get
mauled. That's what a lot of people don't realize. We're using some type of herbicide control once during the growing phase.
Yep.
But we're not spraying for mold and insects and multiple herbicide treatments. And so to me, that corn that's sitting there is just, at that time, that silk phase is an incredible attraction compared to the corn that's out in the ag fields. No wonder they hit yours. It's not, and if we sold that corn and it was coated the way it's sprayed, we'd have to have a skull and crossbones on it, that warning. Literally, because you have to put that, if we had those coatings, because a lot of the coatings that seed's coated with, they have to have that skull and crossbones for farm applications, agricultural, because it is coated for herbicide, pesticide treatment. And you'd be, that's what's crazy when people are, man, you're using herbicide on your plots, and aren't you going to eat those deer? I'm like, man, it's next to like thousands of acres of pesticide, insect mold. Just the chemicals. I was with a farmer in Michigan, and I like, you ever take that corn when it's in the, it's about the size of your finger?
Oh yeah.
And you pick that, eat it. It tastes like sweet corn. So I was doing that on a client's property in Michigan, and he's a farmer with some of his corn. He's like, hey, don't eat that.
Don't do that.
Grab my arm. I'm like, why? What? He's like, do you know how much you know what I've sprayed on that corn?
Yeah.
So I'm like, here's what that deer's eating.
Yeah.
And I'm just spraying some Roundup on some corn to keep some weeds out of it or something.
I know.
It's like, a tenth of the total, potential harm.
Well, people will say that I'm the conspiracy theorist, and that's fine. But I 100% believe that those agricultural treatments are affecting fertility in deer. And that in a lot of the
how could it not be?
And a lot of the big whitetail areas that traditionally have great soil, and whether it's from EHD or hunting pressure or whatever, these herds aren't bouncing back. Like they're just, there's areas of Illinois that have unbelievable soil and got smoked by EHD, and here we are years later, and it's like the deer herd is not bouncing back like you would expect. Like even in the areas like in Southeast Ohio, which is not the best soil, this EHD outbreak sucks, right? It's wiping out thousands of deer. But we're not in a big ag area. We're not doing these weird treatments. In 4 or 5 years, the herd will rebound. But if we were in big ag where they're spraying all these fungicides and insecticides and everything over and over again, I think you'd have a tough time bouncing back from that.
Especially when that's a high, we eat that corn or those crops in some form in our diet, but we have more balance.
Sure.
Where a deer, imagine what percentage of their diet is that chemically sprayed, insecticide controlled treatment that they're eating.
A lot.
And then, but at the same time, I always look at that because people have blamed declining turkey numbers, pheasant numbers, small game numbers on that too, where we see an explosion of turkey numbers on our property, especially this year. We have so many flocks and poult on the property. It's crazy. But a lot of it, maybe there's that chemical aspect. And I would think with deer that could really be likely. But then the loss of habitat.
Is
so
huge.
if you're losing fence rows, field edge, like really cool the way they broke our farms in our area up. They kind of like you take a 1,400 acre piece, give the hunters the top of the outside terrace, meaning the outside of the woods terrace, so they can drive around. And then the farmers take purely ag, and then the hunters take that edge and then woods. And so we have 255 acres, very blessed to have that large of a parcel, but we have about 50 acres of open ground that is purely edge all the way around. It was actually the lower desirable planting areas. They once turned it into pasture because it eroded so much, and now we turned it into 3 miles of switchgrass, edge planting, shrubs, briars, harder regen on the inside. So then, we took out 40 nest robbers last year, but at the same time, our turkey numbers, grouse numbers, pheasant numbers are extremely high. And so that loss of habitat is a real problem too. I think it's, fairly complex, but we always we're not spraying chemicals and herbicide just for the fun of it.
No.
We look at it like we want to have good food plots. Why bother? If we don't, it's that approach with everything. It's kind of like, what balance can we have? What do we have to use to at least have an adequate level of quality, and while still maintaining and minimizing the risk factor associated with all this garbage.
Agree.
Have you guys backed off on your corn plantings then?
Yeah, we eliminated all of it,
and that's why we referred to this. I'm like, you know what, we're going to take November back, and the brassica does well then. Our fall power, we have about 11. 12, Jen, or 13 clover fields.
It was 13, yeah.
Yeah, 13. She's the numbers person on this, but it's they're all none of them are over a quarter acre. So in total they're a little under 3 acres total. Then we have 15 and a half acres of the rest of the stuff. But we looked at it like when we had 8.5 acres of corn, we lost a portion of our November attraction because of that corn.
Interesting.
Worst case scenario, we were better off by just turning it all into brassica and our fall power. So we had all greens. And so I looked at it like, we need to go back to those roots the original roots were beans. And this is 23 years ago, but it was beans, buckwheat, and peas. That was a Mike McFadden mixed from the eastern side of the UP when I used to be on the Michigan Sportsman's Forums all the time. And Mike was a big food plotter. I was at his property with my nephew Devin at the time, and checked out everything. I really like Mike a lot. He's a great person. But from there, it kind of what can we do to plant all these? So that kind of morphed into everything green blend outside of brassica, clover, because you try to get that cool season annual attraction. So rut zone was about taking the rut back, and what can we use that establishes early season use, and then maintains that use and attractiveness as late as possible, meaning with the beans into November, December. If it's a cold November, December, they will hit those beans if they're around. So then you look at, what's that balance of? We had 42 pounds of beans per acre in that mix this year. Next year, that's going to be about 48.5 to 49, and we're adjusting some other things in there. But it's, what's the perfect blend? It will always be adjusting. We do every single year. The problem is with that mix is beans, peas, buckwheat grows really well, but those beans and peas, and when you have 42 pounds of beans to 50 pounds of beans per acre, you want them to grow. So they need to be machine planted for the most part. If you have really good buckwheat, 4 feet high, 3.5 feet high, and you plant into it, and then you smash and roll that buckwheat over it and kill it so that it acts as thatch, and it almost like putting straw on a lawn, then you'll get a good germination rate. But you can't always rely on buckwheat because poor soil, smaller plots, drought, whatever. If you're relying on that to replace your machine planting, then in our area we could do that probably. In most good traditional ag rich areas. but most of the time you have to machine plant it. So if you're going to go out with a broadcaster and try to drag it in with an ATV drag, probably not going to work. And so that's the only problem with that mix. It's not a bad thing. It's just, obviously we're doing it to replace corn. So corn we're not dragging into a field anyways. You get such poor yield that's the only bad thing about that rut zone. Great timing. But again, we wanted to take our November back.
Yeah. And that's cool.
So no more corn. And I'll tell you, I mean, with our industry partnerships and hunting partnerships, we got our corn and planting for free. Yeah. And so it's not like we're doing it as a cost. We purely only do things for what we think is best to draw the most deer in and kill them.
And we planted corn for, years. And we tried to talk about
5 years.
What different things can we do? Should we mix
We tried the
nutri-rich corn.
Yeah, we tried nutrient-rich corn by a grower they were literally the growers in Wisconsin. And so we met with them and we could have carried their corn at a very low cost and added it to our food plot line. And we just didn't see much of a difference in how the deer utilized it. And so if we don't believe in something for advertising and throwing up on our site, then why would we use it? Yeah. And so it's kind of, why would we sell it? We're not going to sell something we don't believe in. So it's kind of, that's why we went back to something like this. And
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Pure Wildlife Blends.
Man, what a critical component just to everything that we talk about, especially during these off-season months. We're looking at and developing these different farms and trying to improve them from year to year. And whether that's food plots or different switch screenings or bedding areas, they all require a dedicated and thoughtful seed blend.
Yeah, so obviously Pure Wildlife Blends being Jeff and Jen Sturgis, we've built a great relationship with those guys. And really what we're seeing is a true testament to them picking the best varieties for these mixes. In fact, we're leaning on clover a lot more. The perennial plot power that those guys do was one of the best clover plots I've ever seen. From December to March, we had more deer in a single clover plot than I've ever seen. A lot of these sheds coming from that plot or right around it. Again, just a true testament to what these guys are creating at Pure Wildlife Blends.
No doubt. And so if you guys are looking for just a workhorse seed that the deer will really use the way that you want them to use it, you can use promo code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on the Pure Wildlife Blends website.
It really does seem like, and I'm sure there's people listening to this will say, no, I've seen it different. But especially if you're looking for corn to benefit you in that late season time frame, if you can't mow it down, I don't know how much benefit it really is bringing to the table, versus the alternatives that you could be planning in place of it.
Well, running it over is the next best thing to mowing it down.
Yep.
So if you can smash it all down with a side-by-side, running it all over, they'll hit it not quite as fast as brush hogging it, but it's a kind of a happy medium. And I've even seen, a hunting industry, some people, we'll just say people, and they were talking about, we ran our corn down because we're putting corn down in the snow, and the deer don't have a lot to drink at this time of year. And so getting it down in the snow gives them more moisture, and all these comments, wow, you guys are taking care of the deer. You're such conservationists. You're not only killing big bucks, you're taking care of the resource too. I'm like, no, they're doing it because they want to either collect antlers or shoot deer because they eat it. That's all that. Jeremy, that's about as ridiculous.
That's crazy.
That we're putting corn down in the snow, so now they'll be able to take a drink while they're eating the corn, and it'll help them. Like, we need to.
So thoughtful.
I know that there's several that, where it's legal, are mowing cornfields, but they surely are adding some of their own bag stuff to that, and you can't tell the difference. How are you going to prove any differently?
Right.
That was a state of Illinois, I believe, where someone was brought up on charges and they ended up getting acquitted.
Yeah.
Was that about 3-4 years ago? And the cameraman turned him in and said that they were adding corn to the field. And in that case, they had shot a buck just for a show, and they didn't take the buck out of the field, and they got investigated for wanton waste too, and basically they discredited the cameraman, and that was that story about that, and everything.
Yeah, it's happening a lot. especially if they're planting small, like if you're planting like a 1 acre cornfield, right? Like that,
Yeah.
It's going to get eaten down. There's not going to be, but when you mow that down and all of a sudden there's corn there as well.
Mm-hmm.
No one can tell the difference.
Mm-mm. No, and I mean, it's happening a lot.
And I'm not saying, again, it goes back to good cops, bad cops. I mean, you're talking a small percentage of overall people,
absolutely.
But it seems like the higher you go up in the hunting industry, where unfortunately mature bucks, I had someone down in Kentucky, we shoot our top end bucks in Minnesota. And now there are 3 that are pushing 180 in the neighborhood. We're waiting to get pictures of them. They all come in like mid-October to mid-December. Those 3.
Don't go Garhole and Jen on any of those this year.
So she's on, like right now we have 2 5 and 6 year olds, and I want her to kill them. But regardless, image wise, if I shot a 180 5-year-old, 185 over a 160 6-year-old that we have 4 years of history with, story wise, I like shooting the 160. Image wise, it'd probably be better for me to shoot the 180, and that sucks. And so in Kentucky, that's what you're talking about. Well, you can come down here and shoot a 180, 190 or whatever, 170, and that'd be better image wise for you. And we got into that big discussion. You can go down such a rabbit hole. And so when you have that pressure on you, I like the story. We just go with it. And I'm happy with our area and the bucks that we have in our area. That's no problem at all. But what a shame in the hunting industry that it turns into a point where a lot of the top hunting industry celebrities, to me, there's a higher rate of doing things unethical or illegally to maintain that image. And I mean, we probably could sit here and have a discussion about 10 major infractions we've seen over the years. And you can go all the way back to Noel Feather back in the day. I mean, we're going back, 25, 30 years for that. And it's really unfortunate, but that's a higher rate.
Yeah, that pressure.
We're going down a rabbit hole with that. But
but that pressure is on a lot of people. And, the unfortunate thing is like...
Well, that's an interesting scenario that you pose there. That's real. That's this year where you say, hey, I've got a 6-year-old that's 160, and I've got 4 years of history, and I've got a 180 to 185 with less history, and he's a 5-year-old.
So what I'm saying is, like, we have
we have
multiple bucks. What's that?
I said I'd shoot the 180.
Yeah, so
I see, but I'm easily distracted, and that 6-year-old will be 7 next year. More history.
So the point is with those things, it's kind of like Junior. He's a buck we have 4 years of pictures with. We called him Junior because he was named after Bo. Bo was a 6-year-old I shot. Similar rack, and to this day they're probably a similar score range. Typical 10s that are kind of high and tight. They both have oddities, one with a brow tine, one with a flyer off the back. That's a typical frame we have, and they're probably not going to be out of the 160s. And so a really cool buck. And then we have Newbie, who appeared 3 years ago. We think Newbie is 5 now. He's probably about a 180, and he lives across the road. We have pictures of him from this year on the neighbors. We don't have pictures of him personally, but he's one that, he's a really cool buck. Newbie, the earliest we've seen him is mid-October. He's a regular in November and December. We had him around all the way into February last year. Now, he might be killed by then, but the point is, like last year, he had a half a beam, so no one was going to shoot him around that area. He's split G2 buck. Typically, he's got stickers and kickers and drop tines this year. He's a cool buck. Pokey, he comes in really late, hence his name Pokey. And Pokey is
like December,
like 6-year-old December buck, and he should be a typical 10 to 11 in that 180 range. He's a stud, giant, heavy frame. And then and then the Big 12. The Big 12 was a 4-year-old last year. Probably had 8 to 9 inch brow tines. He's a typical 12, which is unusual. So we normally don't name bucks the Big 10, the Big 8, the wide 8, the heavy 8, because it kind of blends in.
Sure.
But the Big 12, that narrows it down really quick because we don't have any other Big 12s. The Big 12 is a more late November, December buck. So it's one of those, do I sit out and wait for a chance at one of those that aren't as regular, or do you go for a 6-year-old that you have a really good history with, or like Mikey, who's a big 5-year-old? And that's kind of what, I'm not saying that's a dilemma. I'm not saying you feel sorry for me. I'm just saying, like,
no, we don't, Jeff.
Yeah. No, and the point is, it's kind of like you start to think of, I would, if Dylan's sitting with me, especially and Junior walks by, I'm shooting him.
Yeah.
Dylan and I, it's a special thing. We look at Dylan like a son.
Yeah.
And we worked together since 2016. It'd be very special to shoot a buck like that together in the stand. But
do you think those 3 bucks that you're talking about there, Jeff, is showing up like that? Because that's post rut. Is it food related? Is it because you guys have the food, therefore you have the does, and they're starting to, is it pressure related because gun season obviously is coming at that point in Minnesota? Like, what a combination? I guess just any.
I think Newbie, where he comes in like earliest we've seen him is mid-October.
Okay.
He, I think each one of them you could say is completely different.
Yeah.
Because Newbie and the Big 12, we know where they're at. Newbie, he's over. I think we're in his more rut range.
Yep.
And so he's over, and then he stays.
Yep.
And I think he stays because we have that food source that he wants from that time going forward. We have the low pressure that he wants from that time going forward. Where he comes from is more of a traditional gun season area just across the road. And they're in there with machine. They hunt actually really well, but hunt a little bit differently. They don't have the food sources, so he's got a big area. But then he can be pushed out of that area, more like traditional big hardwoods.
Gotcha.
The Big 12 is in a similar situation too, where Pokey, we don't know where the heck he is in any way during the fall. We cannot find him. We don't know where he comes in from. And then he's more infrequent, December, January. And we've had him, this will be the 3rd year. We know he made it through the season last year. He'd be what we think would be a giant 6-year-old. And we don't know anything about Pokey other than the random pictures we get in December. So I could go to certain stands in late December during our bow season if I had my tag still. And it'd seem like, well, man, we've only had 12, 13 pictures of Pokey. How many pictures over the last,
if that, maybe
2 seasons? And you go in and shoot them.
Yeah.
And you think, it's a needle in a haystack, but it's not, because that's the only time he's there.
Right.
And these are the only stands he's been by when he's there.
Right.
And when he's there, he's there during the daylight in these stand locations. So
we are probably way on the wide
outer edge,
wide range of what he's going to get.
And that might be gun season pressure related, where he gets out of an area. Yeah, we're not even within I wouldn't even say we're in his fall range. It's more like where Newbie in the 12, if we saw a Newbie, because that helped him with LL beams, we'd see him October, September, and then all of a sudden we're seeing him early September.
Yeah.
Like as he aged.
Yep.
And got to 6.
Yep.
It's almost like they know like places where they can go where they can feel more comfortable. But, like we're not pressuring our land. We're hunting on good weather days, and we're not over pressuring when we're going in and out, or how often we're going in and out, I should say. Yeah. How many days during the season do you think you sit?
Oh yeah, that's true. In Minnesota, I mean,
is it 20?
I'd say 15 to 18.
And that is through the whole season with 3
bow,
tags, gun, and muzzleload.
Right.
So I'm sure these mature bucks get to these, spots, and they're like, man, I like this place. I got food, I got water, and I have good bedding, and I don't have people pushing me around.
Where Jen sat 35 times last year.
That's true, yeah.
And she sat 10 times on her 10th sit. She really wanted to shoot Ocho, a big 5-year-old 8, and she missed him on the 10th sit.
I screwed up. Yeah.
Hit her leg on the shot with lower limb, and called me with. I think that was way worse than losing your really nice fishing rod.
For sure.
She was inconsolable. I felt horrible. So she sat 25 times more in like 3 stand locations, and every sit was kind of a safe sit where she could go in. Well, we're not going to spook him. He didn't even come back for 2 weeks during daylight.
Wow.
2.5 weeks. She sat for him. She really wanted. And I told her, I'm like, man, when you mess up on a big buck, normally that's your chance for the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, she sat a lot. But
basically, keep hunting, but pack it up and go home.
Look for someone else.
Hunt safely. Don't spook out these stands. But if you're going to shoot them, it's going to be in one of these 3 stands. And she, to her credit, 25 sits later, she got him.
She killed him. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird when you look at some of those situations like that, and it definitely seems like, especially as those deer get into that 6-year-old plus class, like they definitely collapse their home ranges down. They become more of that homebody-esque, side of things, and I would attribute a lot of that to their life experience, right? I mean, they've got 6 years under their belt of dodging bullets and arrows and vehicles and everything else, and figuring out how to keep their stomachs full and go into winter in good condition. So
I can speak to one right now. Like, we don't get 6-year-olds very, very often. And in fact, we had a team meeting, here recently with the guys that hunt our farm. And we basically said, hey, based on a collective decision of like, we want to be able to have fun hunting this property and with our knowledge of the pressure on neighboring stuff and what deer are out there to hunt. We basically said 4-year-olds are on the table this year. We said, hey, that's the age, that we think is realistic to be able to get them to at this point. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
However, we do have, I've got one 6-year-old that's living on the property, and he's been there. He's not a high scoring deer. He's probably mid-30s, pushing 40 type of a thing. He's got a good looking frame on him, but he, this year for the first time ever, and I was asking earlier about, those early season patterns and narrowing them down. He's one of them that I'm like the most confident. Even of all these, there's some other, 4-year-old deer and stuff like this, but that one 6-year-old, I'm like, holy cow, he's only here. He's just right here. And I've got him like on 3 cameras in this tight little loop. And I've got now 2 or 3 at least years of history of like, in the past year or 2, at least we've been hunting him. And the years before that, I was noticing him, and he's just in this one ditch, like right around this one food plot here. And I'm like, and I guess we'll see how the season goes. I've been guilty of being overconfident in the past year, but I'm like, he's going to die right there, like at one of 3 stands. Yeah. It's just, when do we want to do it?
That's pretty crazy. We had a buck that we felt got to 8 years old in Wisconsin. And only because we thought we had pictures of him when he was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I missed him when he was 6. And, going out at that time, he was probably a typical 178 point with just one extra ninth, crab claw. And he was probably 23, 24 inches inside spread, tall brow. He's just a magnificent 8 point. But we probably had, let's say, 500 pictures over a 5-year period. And we had like all but three of those pictures we had a set from a camera 400 yards away across an open CRP field. Every other picture with multiple cameras around a 190-acre area was out of one camera. And he died within 200 yards of that camera. I missed him within 100 yards of that camera. Saw him within 100 yards of that camera. It was just, and the older he got, my friend Colin that was hunting a ridge away, like 1.5 miles away, he saw him the same morning I saw him the one time during the rut. But the older he became, Colin didn't see him at year 6, 7, 8. He saw him at year 4 and 5. And kind of like he narrowed down his range. And so again, going back to we talked about early in this podcast, we talked about why. And so that's where you really start to learn. And so I love seeing those older 5, 6-year-old bucks, Jared. That experience with that 6-year-old, it's kind of like learn all you can, because when you figure out the whys in that area, then it really helps you set up your property for 5, 6-year-old properties, 5 or 6-year-old bucks in the future, because I believe you can do that. And I've seen properties where they have the ability and size of the property to hold a buck until they're 5, 6 years old. They're holding them until they're 3, maybe 4, and then they're gone. And a year or 2 later, they're shot 1 mile away as a 180 whatever. And so then it's not just, well, he just wanted to move. It's, why did he move? He moved. Yeah. He moved. He chose to move. There's a reason. There's something he didn't like on that property. In that case, it happened to be a food plot on 400 acres within every 100 yards of their cover in the property. There's no depth. There was no area that he could call remote his home that wasn't away from a huge doe population, lots of small bucks. And so he really grew out of the level of security he needed on that 400 acres, even though there's 400 acres and they applied minimal pressure. There's just too much food. That
pressure is a big deal. I mean, I would say, Jeff, even in the time that we've known you guys, I think my farm in Ohio has and there's still a long way to go, but I've seen it improve significantly. You know, it was that farm exactly where we'd get them to 3 years old, and then they would just during the fall they would leave, and then we just didn't have an older age class of bucks. And we were just, hunting the crap out of it. And I don't think we had our core areas established. And so as the years have gone on, I feel like we've been able to, and things that you've given us advice on in the past, like keeping, a variety of food sources in one location type of a thing, and expand from that.
The depth of cover has always been a big one for me. When I look at a property now, it's one of the first things that's in my brain is okay, where's the food, and then how deep can they go on this property before getting affected by somebody else?
Yeah, that's interesting. When we were out with Alex, the outfitter in Kentucky, we got to look at a 700-acre farm and a 400-acre farm and drive around those properties. And the 700-acre is one that it's a premium property that he wants to. And that's just a start. We're going from there and looking around. But so when I drew that property out for him, it wasn't like a normal client drawing. It was, food plots would go here, hunting plot would go here, water holes would go here, stand locations would go here. We're not going to fluff it up, make it draw. I'm not a good artist to begin with, but this is really the bare bones basic. But what I did and what he wanted me to do is to draw that area out and shade it in green where with these food sources here, with the cover we have, this is where those mature bucks would be. Because Alex, even the really cool experience with them with putting corn piles out, he feels that the average buck that's hitting that corn pile is with 150 to 200 yards of that corn pile when you go into that corn pile, and sometimes less.
I bet
he's not 400 yards away.
Yep.
So that's when we talk about that digital land management. And this isn't a plug for that, but that's what we're developing, and and I've talked to you about that a lot, Jeremy and Jared. Yeah. But we're a lot closer to pulling the trigger on that in a large way to where anybody can plug in food sources, houses, roads, whatever, all the complexities that push or pull deer and establish that depth of cover and where a mature buck can be, and then illustrate to people, in your 40 acres, and on the land surrounding you, there's no area for mature buck.
Right.
Or on that 400 acres, this 20 acres right here is the only area you're going to hold a mature buck because of the food or access. So imagine being able to plug into that. And that's kind of when I look at properties, kind of like you're doing, it's, food's here. If the access is here, if a house is here, if your neighbor's blind is here, if the ATV trail is here, if the road's here, what's left? And typically on the best properties out there, you're not going to have more than 15 to 20% of the entire property that is going to be conducive to mature buck holding cover during the daylight. 15 to 20%, even in the best case scenario. Think about that. Most properties are zero.
Yeah. Well,
most properties are zero.
Really speaks to the self-control when it comes to wanting to go in and hunt some of the best spots. It's how critical that can be. It's you're going right into your 15 or 20%, and it's you're eliminating it essentially by hunting it.
Right. Yeah. And if you're hunting in the middle of it, there's no 15 to 20%. If you're pressuring that area. And so that's why people in habitat management and food plots even, we want to plant good food plots. We plant what we sell. We don't sell what we don't plant, or don't recommend. So then when you get into that property in that 15, 20%, I want the best food. We want the best habitat, but that's not what's important. It is important to a certain extent. You have to have adequate, but you need to think more like the layout and how you're accessing the land, how much depth of cover there is. And if you don't have the right, and this is why we like public land, because public land's a little bit easier. We don't have to work on the property. We don't have to plant what's perfect. We don't have to do anything. We just have to find out where the common people areas are. Then we have to find good transition areas and funnels within decent habitat areas within the center of that and go in and sit in plan A and enjoy the hunt. And if someone's there, we go to plan B or C. We don't stress about it. We don't have to work on it. We don't have to spend a lot of time. We just go and sit and enjoy public land. Where on private land, to me, there's so much more you have to worry about. And I'm not saying, again, you don't have the perfect habitat or food plot, but I think we get so focused on the quality of the habitat and the quality of food plot, we lose sight of the entire strategy. You could win wars and battles without the best artillery, without the most number of soldiers. It's the strategy that comes into play. And so many battles have been won, wars have been won with a minimal amount of soldiers in the past. And it's the same exact thing. It's not the best equipment, the best arsenal, the most amount. It's, what can you do with the highest level of strategy with what you have. And so anyway, it's kind of, there's so much more to hunting strategy than just the best food plot and habitat.
Yeah. Well, you just said it right there. And I mean, rolling back to what I was saying about improvements we've seen on our farm, access for sure is like, it's like a large majority of it for sure. I would say, it's like food plot conditions improve and they get worse. And yes, we're improving the habitat, like you're saying, and that's all like important stuff there that,
it is,
it's good to have that, but the access alone is like the more I learn about our property, I'm like, it's just everything. There's so many ways to do it wrong too. And it ties into like perception of like, well, the deer they don't seem to booger when I run the machine through there or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean like, I don't know if we fully understand that. And so some of these spots that we've keyed on, like that I'm like, hey, we will kill them here every year. It's almost solely because of the access that we have there. And we understand how the deer are moving in relation to it. We can endorse that with like where we have the food sources and where we're doing the habitat work. But the access is the reason that stand is good, in my opinion.
And access to me is, I don't know what percentage of hunting strategy it is, but it's one of the highest. I mean, think of a sniper,
for sure.
Sneaking in on top of a ridge somewhere, getting a concealed position and waiting for 2 days for his target to go by. And why should it be any different with deer hunting? And instead, we're like the sniper who's driving an ATV to the top of the knoll expecting to shoot the target a half hour later. That's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, the villagers don't run when I drive the ATV in there. That this doesn't happen. It's kind of like so access is such a huge, and that's why to me, like whether you call it access or hunting strategy, it's definitely the lowest hole in the bucket.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a big one. I think that's probably the one that, unfortunately, a lot of people should be focusing on when they're buying or leasing a piece of property, and they don't, right? They're looking for other opportunities, or what do the last people have from a history standpoint, or are there openings, or do I have to create openings? And the bottom line is if you look at it, it's like you can't access. I mean, or maybe it's weird where it's like, yeah, you can access this on east winds, which happen once a month. It's just. There's so many different things that they end up running into there that they don't take into consideration before they make a major investment.
Well, that's where like food plots, because it's an anchor, and you can anchor movement with that food plot. Food plots can change your access outcome. So you might look at a property and say, well, with the food plot there and that ag field there, the access is really poor. But if you change the food location, that access could become remote access on the back side of a bedding area where you can sneak in now in daylight, or before you couldn't step foot out of the truck next to that location without spooking every deer on the property.
For sure.
Yep.
So with food, you can change your ability to access a private parcel. And that's where it's different on public land. You're just looking, where's that food source at? And you're planning your access around that, because you have 1,000 acre, a 10,000 acre playground or a 5,000 acre playground or even 1,000. We're on, a 200 acre parcel. That's why I say like a 500 acre parcel is small compared to public land.
Yeah.
It's not small compared to the average private land parcel. But when you start talking 80 and 100, 40 acres, 20 acres, you can't mess up.
Right. Yeah. The margin of error is razor thin.
Yeah. And that's where it's almost
stressful.
Kind of, stressful. Like going back to when we chose a honeymoon spot, we did go to Hawaii. which we were very fortunate to go. That was a lot of fun, and people I like going to the beach. I like going. We found some remote beaches the locals told us about, and Jeep trail in for 35 minutes where you couldn't take a regular Jeep Wrangler, in there without tearing something off. But so we had awesome time there, getting to some remote locations. But our first honeymoon was going to Kentucky, sleeping in the morning, shooting podcasts, Zoom calls with partners, shooting our bows, going to a cool, nice breakfast at a local spot, then going out and sit in the afternoon, come back, meet a whole bunch of people from all around the country that were really cool people, watching football games on Saturday and Sunday. And it was just super relaxing, and now it's almost like we go down there and we're working with Alex on, food should go there, water holes. Does it make sense that we're still blessed to be able to do what we do, but it's starting to, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's starting to bring the work into it.
Yeah, it's leaching over.
It's starting to bring the stress level into it. And I'm not saying that stress is bad. I'm just saying, there's a certain level of stress that comes with doing it right on private land. And,
for sure.
And that's kind of why we go to Kentucky in early season to relax a little bit. So.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Mountain Tough.
Man, as everybody knows, physical fitness is super important to both you and I, Jared. And so whether it's training for the Badlands so that we can pack out a muley or our weekly whitetail hunts, the thing that we don't want is to be a big piece of shit in the woods this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude, even just in our daily lives, whether we're planting food plots, running our businesses, spending time with our family, we just want to feel good. And that all starts with physical fitness.
Yep. So this year we're partnering with the Mountain Tough app, cool new app that you can go in. You can do rucking, you can do weighted vests, you can do minimal gear, but basically the app has both coached and self-guided courses, anything and everything you need to be mentally and physically tough for this hunting season.
And so right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on the Mountain Tough website. That's mtntough.com. It does have to be the website. It can't be either of the app stores to get that discount applied. You get a free 2-week trial anyway, so anybody can go on and use that. But while you're signing up, use that code HUNTR. You'll get an additional free month after that trial period to use the app. That's a total of 6 weeks. That's a huge savings.
So this season, get Mountain Tough. Yeah. Well, I have to ask. It's September 18th, and if my math's right, is your season already open in Minnesota?
Jen's had a sit.
And you're in Canada right now.
And we do that. We and this year, of course, the schedule sucks sometimes. So this is our window to come up here in September. I do enjoy walleye fishing. My last trip with my dad fishing was here in 2018 with my brother and I. It's a special place. Jen and I, the first place we went together as a trip was here. Fishing in October. My kids have been here since before they were a month old, each of them. We love coming, and so this time of year, it's kind of like they're on these patterns. This is a changing time right now. We will come back here in October, and the problem is we have a really important meeting with a partner like October 6th through 10th or 11th, and that's we have Hunt Winter coming in for our charity event, Hunt Winter, the end of September or next week. Have to film with Dylan on the 23rd. We have something on the 25th, but then we have a window to come back to Canada, shut our camper down, do some more walleye fishing, and it's kind of like,
Yeah.
And Dylan and I are hunting on the 23rd together. It doesn't matter the weather or anything, just so we can simply get B-roll for hunting, and we'll make the best of it. But other than that, it starts to get serious in October. Jen, you'll probably sit from Mikey or Junior.
Yeah, I probably will. But it certainly seems like this is the, we've let our property rest even before, like opener for Minnesota. But really this is the time where I'm sure there's going to be like maybe a little bit of pressure around us with people going in and out and doing some last minute things, and we're not doing that.
But we've already seen some other bucks coming in, like Short Horse.
Yeah.
Short Horse is a beautiful 4-year-old. We had history with him last year. The neighbor called him Short Horse. But he's starting to, all of a sudden it's like not there at all.
Yeah.
And then you get a random middle of August. and then all of a sudden not there at all, and then you get 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
And then nothing for 3 days, and then he's back again. And all of a sudden by early October, he's consistent.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see those bucks transition right now, and so.
Yeah. Well, so I think that makes sense, because there's a lot of us that, I think we talked about it earlier, like this anticipation has just been building and building and building. And I remember, like, especially as a kid, like, I couldn't sleep the night before opening day, right? No matter what the weather was, like, I was going to be in a stand. But per everything we just talked about, whether it's access or pressure or whatever, there's an understanding and a responsibility there to be like, don't just be careless with it either, right? Like, be patient. It's a long season, especially if you've got deer that you're looking to hunt. If they're not doing what you need them to be doing, like, don't go out there and just put needless pressure.
Don't force it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a marathon. It really is a marathon. You got to look at it that way. Unless it's so different, like some of the public land hunters, if they have a buck they're on, it's food source of the movement
they got to go.
You got to go now and go try to shoot that. And that's where Kentucky's so cool for us, because what's really cool is like that Friday night before opening on Saturday. I woke up, I was like that kid, before opening day of bow season back in the day. I was excited, because we're going hunting no matter what. And then you have the build up. We start, just put a video out this morning before I talked to you guys, but it's that build up for archery practice. We're shooting dots 30, 40 yards. We're transitioning to 50, 60. Then all of a sudden we're adding a 3D animal there. And then the last step is we're adding broadhead to the mix. And we're still going back to dots, because that brings us and hones us in on where we're actually hitting our skills. We can check ourselves. And then we're introducing 3D in there a little bit, just to get that aiming at an animal. And then we're introducing broadheads. They do fly 2 inches off at 40, because we already know where we're hitting on dots. But we have to do all that well before Kentucky. So we're feeling good. I mean, Jen's been slamming the arrow. She's been at 40 yards. I've been really proud of her. 40, 50 yards. We shoot a lot now. And she's, women, I don't know what it is. It just seems like they're traditionally better shots than men. They hold their composure.
No.
Yeah, more patience.
They just want to be better than their husbands.
Yeah, that's true. Competition. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think they don't grow up with that thought. You got to be the best shot and everything. It's kind of like that pressure to perform in front of your buddies, where
I think women are going to listen more.
Sure.
Like, hey, try this, do this. Hey, don't have a tight grip. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where guys are going to be like, I know I'm doing it right already.
I'm the best already.
Yeah. I think you probably go through a process in your head more where guys mostly are cutting corners. We're just like, yeah, we know what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to admit that you're taking advice from somebody else or anything. But Jen she's been really good. So like her shot this year in Kentucky, I mean, she drilled it. And when a camera's rolling, and our camera, meaning we've been using our reveal trail cameras above us in a tree.
Oh, really?
We put it on 30-second video and 0 delay. And so what you do is you keep your bow off to the side hanging. And if your shot's right here, it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah.
But your bow's over here hanging. And so as soon as you bring that bow right here, it's tripping the camera, and you have 30 seconds to shoot.
That's cool.
Well, someone set mine on 15 second this year, and I didn't. Was it you? But I shot my buck at like second 16. But luckily, I had the 2 little DJI's action cameras rolling. So one over my right shoulder, one down my left arm. So I got it shot all the way around.
He got really cool shots.
But Jen's was that reveal camera, and
that's awesome.
In HD, and I shot 2 of my bucks last year like that, and we do it because we can watch each other's hunts.
Yeah,
and so our buddy Andrew that went, we gave him one so he could do it. He signs into our account, and we can watch him hunt. And then
so you're watching it. You're watching it live.
Oh yeah, so it's one of those like
you're like refresh.
Yeah, like you see Jeff grab his bow, and you're like, we get like video request, hurry.
Yeah. And that's
very cool.
We have like Jen's dad Greg, my friend Mike. We have other people. My son-in-law Joe. They're logging in to see our hunts too. Logging into our
that's
reveal.
An interesting thing.
Yeah.
Is Reveal doing the on-demand stuff yet or no?
Yeah, so you can do
on the Ultra.
Yeah, so you can
on the Ultra.
You can do on-demand picture, on-demand video
Yep.
with some of the other cameras, but like this one, like you can go into it live. Like
that's what I was wondering.
It's pretty cool.
It'd be interesting to just throwing it out there. It'd be interesting to like set up like a public Whitetail Reveal account to where like, you know, your followers essentially could log into it, right, and everybody could watch it live.
That would be pretty cool.
Right? Like you could do that, couldn't you?
We talked about
that sounds like the worst thing. Really cool? I would never want that in my tree stand.
Well, it's like it'd be really cool is like you do that and you put it on, have the ability to put it on, and we've talked about this with Instagram or YouTube and live. And then we just go out and hunt together, and it's just live streaming the hunt through your Reveal trail camera or whatever trail camera. But yeah, and people can join in and talk about it. You get multiple hunters across an entire neighborhood hunting at the same time.
Well, we'll have to talk with you guys this year. Like Jared and I usually do at least one, if not two, like live from deer camps. Like we did Iowa last year. We'll do Kansas this year with the dads, and like it's really cool to be like interacting with everybody in like that deer camp atmosphere and stuff, and reading the comments.
So cool.
And yeah, it's just it's like those are our opportunities to like engage with people in like a real time format during like the height of the season where everybody's just like ate up with it. And you know, we usually put it out a week or two in advance to let people know so we can kind of, you know, plan it out and build it up. And we typically do it the same time as like a normal podcast would air too. So it's not like that different than tuning into if we just posted a podcast.
Well, that's what we've tried to transition even our YouTube channel. I haven't. Well, a lot of people copy and all that stuff, but I haven't done a.
There's so many whiteboards out there now, Jeff. It's freaking ridiculous.
You know where this is going? Like I haven't done a video on a whiteboard since January, February.
Now what are they going to do? They're like, Jeff, stop doing this. What do we do?
Yeah, it's kind of like, so what we've been doing is transitioning more into like, we're going out to put a mock scrape stand location set up. We just put one on the Ben. I think the Ben, that video is going to be out. So our friend Ben Stern from Cam Reveal, he was out with us, and the normal time when Ben's out is we grill tomahawk steaks, go for a cruise on the property, have a few beverages, a few laughs, and that's our normal Ben time. And so Ben was out the other day, it was about a month ago, and he came out. They live in Montana now, but he was in Wisconsin, and we literally cleared shooting lanes, chainsawed stuff, and set out a couple trail cameras, just what we were doing that night. And Ben comes along, and then we cook some chicken or whatever afterwards. And so it's kind of like, that's our Ben time. And so Jen was out with Ben and Wes, who works for us, and they were out just Ben, Wes, and Jen time. And there's a fawn that got up at this stand location, and Ben Stern, he wanted to keep it. Jen's always wanted to keep a fawn, and we're like, no, Ben, you can't keep it. And so he like ran after it so you could see it a little bit better.
And of course he's like, Ben, wait, come back, Ben.
Calling it Ben. And so we're like, oh, well, that's the name of the stand. So we had stupid names for our stand locations, but we completely redesigned that setup with mock scrape and everything. And so we show it starting right from the pole building. This is what we're doing, driving out on the road. Jen's a part of it. Wes we used as a ladder, meaning I put a 40-inch extension for a ladder stand. He was the tree, so I leaned the ladder against him so I could climb up it, and totally don't do this at home stuff.
But you try to do like more like interactive, like in the field. This is what we're doing. This is how, as opposed to step 1, 2, 3. Like, not saying that that's not interactive.
It's not.
You know.
I mean, but it worked for a long time, and I think it still does. But it's just like, I can't believe, like, I'll just be flipping randomly through YouTube or whatever, and I'm like, there's 7 different people that I've never heard of before doing that now.
Yeah, and we would try to kind of going back to the live stuff. People want to feel like they're a part, and we
That's
notice
exactly
like
what it is.
When Jen's involved, and we're doing more of those storyline, where you're showing those multiple pieces, the movement of the hunt, the movement of the project, then the engagement and the views are probably 50% more, and people like it. We get comments, they like seeing Jen involved more. She's entertaining, I'm not, so it's kind of.
I mean, maybe, but I think too, it's part of
maybe.
No, I am. But I think too, like people like to see that family aspect of it, because there's a lot of times like we'll the kids are coming out with us too,
because that's what we do,
right? But I think too,
it's
that more intimate, like personal side of Jeff Sturgis of like, hey, this is like, okay, like this is how you do it, and you're interact like with your spouse or whoever. And I think a lot of people enjoy that part.
Well, I think even just what we're talking about here, guys, I mean, the fact that your season's open, you guys are up there as a family fishing, and obviously, Jen, you're bear hunting, but hanging out in Canada doing stuff. And, I think that for not tying it completely back to the industry stuff we were talking about earlier, but a lot of people are watching people in the industry and like they're never on their property. They're never like they set it up and they leave. And the next time they're in there is to kill the deer they're after, right? And for most of us, that's not reality, right? I mean, we have one property and it's like we want to do stuff on it. We want the family to be on it. We want to be, improving it. And so I think for them seeing you guys do that is very much like, oh, okay, well, Jeff and Jen are out there doing this stuff right now. They're not like, hey, we can't be on this property until, after we kill this buck. Like, we're just not going to step foot on it because that's what they hear.
Jeremy, and that's the thing. We go to the ATA show, which is, we'll see if it's around next year, but we're trying this year. We're going to have a booth for our Pure Wildlife Blends, and we're going to, go set up, and because it's open to the public, which is something we've been hoping for 5-6 years.
I also know the people that are marketing that show.
Yeah, so there you go.
So right. My plan is for it to be around another year too, Jeff. So we'll see.
Jen told me that. Well, we've been hoping it would go public for a long time. And
same.
We don't go to a lot of shows, so we don't get to interact not only with the public as much, other than thousands of comments on YouTube or Instagram.
Yep.
We don't interact much, not only with the public, but other hunting industry personalities. Mm-hmm. And so you, on the other hand, you've been in this game, and you and Jared now, look at all the people you guys interact with, and it's really cool. And I think you can see the ones that do it for real and those that don't. And what I mean by that is they might hunt on their own land, but what percentage of hunting industry folks that you meet do you think actually work on their own land, that don't have a farmhand, that don't have an extreme amount of help? There's people out there that are
not a lot.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's kind of like, there's some that work on their land. Mm-hmm. There's some that don't, whatever that percentage is. But I like people seeing, like, we struggle. Like we struggle to get things done. We figure we're on the property about 100 times a year, 100 days. That does not mean we're working 100 8-hour days. It just means that
you're on it.
An hour here might be 10 hours here. Yeah. But we're fitting it in when we can. The struggle's real, and it's a lot of work.
But you're using it. You're doing things on it, which I think is important for people to know, because it's a huge investment for them, and they should enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I think once you're able to capitalize on that mature buck, or whatever, if you're shooting does and managed does too, and you've been working on your property and you've been creating that habitat that is so important to be able to allow those mature bucks to live there. Once you kill a mature buck after you've spent so many countless hours and times and tears and blood and whatever else, it makes that moment so much more special. And then especially too, when you can share those moments with friends, like you two, or when you can share that moment with your spouse, and it's emotional. And when that story is over, it's sad to see that over, but then you're gonna repeat that and do that all over again and put all that time.
Which is why we name our bucks. Yeah. Like this isn't, we're naming the bucks on one hand because we have multiple people. Whether it's Dante, Dylan, Joe, Mike, that get to know these bucks, and we can't use the wide 8, the heavy 8, all that stuff. You have to name it, but part of it's we don't name the bucks initially a lot of the time. So, like one this year, Mikey's a 5-year-old. Last year he was a basic 8. Just didn't have a name for him yet. Our buddy Mike. He was hoping to shoot him during gun season. He's out for about 5. He's a close hunting friend of mine, childhood friend, knowing he and his family since I was an infant. And so literally he took me hunting when I was 12, knowing my family hunted. He was 16 and could drive. So that's how close Mike and I are together, going back. So he comes out to hunt, and Mike didn't shoot that buck. So, we're just like talking about that buck. What do we want to name him? Because he's a 5-year-old. I mean, it's about time. Let's call him Mikey. And so part of it's the combination of who we hunt with, what it's all about. Junior was a special buck named after a special buck. But it's almost like a respect for that animal that you're after. Sure. And it's about that story that can take place over 3 or 4 years sometimes. And when you go out on public land, and we go out to Pennsylvania, I'll hunt public land this year. I'll hunt public land in Michigan. I'm shooting a mature buck. It's special for a different reason on public land. But you don't have that connection to the animal and to the hunt as much as you do. And so,
but what you do have
that whole,
but like on public land like that, like it's that strategy behind, you're looking at these maps and you're like, this is where we're going, based on
maybe history of that area.
Yeah. History, what the bedding is like, those acorn flats, like where they're coming up to feed and then going back to bed, so there's, that strategy.
It's just, different, but like, that private land, that whole connection for everything you're doing, it makes it a part of an incredible process.
Right. And I think a lot of people have that struggle, like you talked about earlier, with there's a lot of stuff to do, and at the beginning of the season, if you will, like whether that, spring, winter, when
meaning the season is
over,
January, February.
Right. And then you're like, all right, well, these are the bedding areas we got to cut. And we have this amount of time before, spring green up or, that first initial leaf out, and then all of a sudden other things happen. You get behind on that. You're like, all right, well, I wanted to cut 8 new spots and I cut 3 instead. Like we have that problem.
Yeah.
And so does everyone else. So
people have to understand, like you likely don't get all of the things that you want to get done. That's all right. You've got, that's what the next year is for.
We're making, Amen. I think when we went down to Kentucky like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago before the season opener, we're making a list.
Yeah.
It's priorities.
Yeah.
So these are the 22 priorities that have to get done. Now, out of those 22, realistically, we can get these 7 done. So that's the priority list we're making. Yeah. We're just forgetting about those other 11 things that we wanted to do.
Right.
It's kind of like we come here to Canada and we go out fishing with a 1.5 and a 3.5-year-old in the boat. We're not out there for a long time. We're there for a good time. We came for a good time, not a long time. And it's kind of like our hunting. It's what is that priority? We're here for a good time. We're here to get things done. We're not here for a long time. So what can we fit within this time frame? But you get small amounts of work done over a 9-month period.
I agree.
And,
yeah, that's perfect. Well, let's let you get back to the 1.5 and 3.5 and maybe get out on the lake. Who knows? Maybe surface a Sturgis rod. You never know. Like it's possible.
Never know.
I think we're gonna go. We brought the 410 over and under 410. We love grouse hunting, so
there you go.
I think we're gonna head out to the bear stand. I would say in about 3 hours.
Sure.
2.5 to 3 hours.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that time, we're going to go for a drive. And Jen's mom has a small game tag. We all registered. When you come across Canada, cool. you have to register a gun.
Yeah.
So we have a gun registered, and then each of us have to register your name to that gun to be a user. So if we bring a gun into Canada and one of us isn't registered, you can't touch that gun. And so each of us are registered to that 410. We're going to go for a drive and see if we can find a couple grouse. And
there you go.
We had walleye last night. And
a little bit of grouse would be good for dinner.
And then we'll hit the bear stand. And we have a couple of Canadian Reveal trail cameras where we want to set up. So we're going to check with our friend up here and see if the shipment has come yet, so we can put that on the bear bait. But other than that,
cool.
We'll hit the bear bait whether bear's been in there or not.
Right.
We'll just enjoy hanging out on the stand.
There you go. Well, awesome, guys. Well, we appreciate you spending some time with us this morning from Canada and chiming in. We'll definitely keep in touch here over the next few weeks and wish you guys the best of luck and enjoy the family time up there before you get back to the grind of things in the States.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Always enjoy the conversation with you and all the different directions it goes.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Beast Broadhead.
Dude, Beast Broadheads. Man, we've been advocating for and shooting expandable, especially big expandable broadheads for years and years now. And it just seems like they just keep making them better and better. And ultimately, with the relationship we forged with the Bowmars this past year, we're just super excited to be shooting the Beast broadheads this year.
I mean, this broadhead it's the world's sharpest expandable broadhead out there. It has best penetration, and it's got bone avoiding technology. Ultimately, we want to create the most trauma possible on a deer when we release an arrow. The Beast Broadhead does that for us every time.
So right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on anything on the Beast website. So definitely go check out beastbroadheads.com.
Glad they joined us from Canada. That's cool. I mean, it's I think it's important for people to see that, you know, their season just opened. Obviously, these guys put in a ton of work on their property, and they're like, yeah, plenty of time. You know, deer doing different deer things right now. Like, there's no reason to push it, no reason to rush it. And so, you know, it's a long season. Just like we were talking in the opener, it's like a lot of things not going the way that we want them to go, but it's a long season, and you can only control what you can control, you know, whether that's from a food plot standpoint or, God forbid, an EHD outbreak. Yeah, just things that you can control, and that's it.
Well, they're just making the most of, you know, this, I guess, kind of calm before the storm. They got a young family, and they got some fun places to be and stuff. And so that's it's kind of what we're doing too. You know, it's like getting together with the guys there and just even talking about how we want the season to go, kind of a thing. And we're still, you know, hanging some stands and stuff like that, and hooking up with neighbors, and, you know.
Yeah, it's critical.
Yeah, but I know that time will come. You know, when you get those cold snaps, and, you know, I was watching some videos this morning of like that November grind is coming. You know, when it's like whether you see it coming or not, it's like
it'll be there. Yeah, and you know, the hardest part is like you either have bucks you're going after, or you got to find them. You know, and that's the hardest part, I think, right now, at least in my situation, is like I'm trying to focus. I've got this elk thing, but then even after that, it's like I don't have any deer that I'm like, I got to chase that deer, which is kind of weird, you know, and they'll show up at some point here. But, you know, for the interim, it's like, yeah, just kind of biding my time. And I've got some deer in Pennsylvania that I'm going to hunt for sure. But yeah, those other two states, it's kind of, right now I'm just trying to make it to that first frost so I can breathe a little easier from the CHD, because I know it's just everywhere, you know, and it's just.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of that. There's just a lot of things out of our control this season, seemingly more than, you know, in seasons past. You know, it's this EHD thing, this drought thing. It's just like maybe we'll get opportunities like on the food plot things to salvage some things. But hey, there's just a lot of things you can't control. So it's just, you know, they're going to fall where they fall, and we're going to give it our best effort, and and hopefully have fun doing it. You know,
that's all you can do, man. So, anyways, we appreciate everyone listening to this episode of HUNTR Podcast 273. With Jen and Jeff Sturgis, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Later.
Take me